Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobook. Marvel, get super serum at the beginning. Chapter 1, Serial Crossing. Ah! Qin Xiao sat up from the bed covered in cold sweat. Here it is. Look at everything around you that is completely unfamiliar to you. I'm watching a movie at home and sleeping at the same time. Qin Xiao has a bad habit of falling asleep watching movies on his mobile phone at night. Even if I watch a movie and fall asleep, I am afraid that my phone will run out of battery, so I watch the movie with the charger plugged in. I don't know if it's because it's too hot in the summer, or if there's something wrong with the heat dissipation of his phone. When Qin Xiao was in a daze, his cell phone exploded. Yes, the phone exploded. What about me? Traveled through time? Qin Xiao was racking his brains to think about what happened. A large number of memories emerged crazily in Qin Xiao's mind. After a while, Qin Xiao figured out his current situation. Time travel is certain, a parallel world similar to Earth. This man's name is the same as mine, but his fate is more tragic. His parents died unexpectedly, and his family property was defrauded by relatives. Finally, he mustered up the courage to make a desperate move and mortgaged his house to start a business partnership with a friend. I was deceived by my friends and girlfriend. Not only did I lose all my money, I also got a lot of debt. Then, Qin Xiao glanced at the pesticide on the bedside table, commonly known as paraquat, a highly toxic pesticide. A small and dilapidated rental house, a converted garage on the first floor, damp and hot. With a debt of more than 3 million yuan, all the property in his body is only more than 500 yuan. Betrayed by both your best friend and your pillowcase. How bad is this? Not to mention the real master, even Qin Xiao who has traveled through time has the urge to die. What the hell kind of start is this? Otherwise, if I try to die again, can I still travel through time? Qin Xiao glanced at the paraquat on the bedside table. Let's forget it. It's better to die than to live. If you die, it won't be a big loss. It's just money I owe. I'll slowly figure it out. This body is only 23 years old now, and it will last a lifetime. Qin Xiao comforted himself. Just as I was thinking about what to do next, suddenly, a voice sounded in my head. Found the entrance to the world, the system is being bound. Hey? Is there a surprise? Qin Xiao became energetic, sat up, and lit a cigarette. After about 20 seconds, a beep sounded in my mind. The binding is successful and the system has been activated. Host Qin Xiao has discovered a world entrance. Do you want to cross it immediately? Wait, don't just travel through time. First, tell me what functions you have and what does the entrance to the world mean? Qin Xiao quickly said in his mind. This system can provide time travel services to the host. The host completes tasks and earns points, which can be exchanged for various items in the system mall. Let me see if I open the mall. What can I exchange for? The host has insufficient authority. The mall cannot be opened until the host completes the task and obtains points. The system sounds lifeless. Can you at least let me know what's there? Skills, genetic enhancement, money, etc. Please ask the host to open the mall as soon as possible for details. Although the system was not detailed enough, Qin Xiao understood that his golden finger was here. What about the entrance to the world? What do you mean? Qin Xiao changed the question. Traveling to other worlds requires coordinates, and it was found that the host has residual world coordinates. The system was very considerate this time. Not only did it answer the question, it also gave Qin Xiao a picture in his mind. It was a scene that Qin Xiao was very familiar with. A huge and heavy steel armor was raising its right arm at the entrance of a cave, shooting flames outward. Surrounded by an endless desert. Iron Man. Qin Xiao reacted as if he was watching this movie before his phone exploded. The entrance to the world is the world of Iron Man? Marvel Cinematic Universe? It was a world full of superheroes. What tasks could I accomplish if I entered it with my own body? System, this world is a bit dangerous. Can you give me some benefits before entering? Otherwise, I may not be able to complete the mission. Qin Xiao bargained in his mind. You will get rewards if you give. Don't you think the host doesn't understand this principle? Besides, with the host's current situation, is there anything else to lose? My darn thing! Qin Xiao was stunned to hear a hint of contempt from the system's voice, which had no tone at all. But the system was right, he was like this now. What else is there to be afraid of? After finally traveling through time and having a system, how can I not seize this opportunity? It's done. Time travel, now. Qin Xiao has nothing to hesitate, this place is a mess, if there is no system. I can only carry debts and have to find a job to support myself. Slowly think about paying back the money, let alone seeking justice from Qin Xiao who died for him. Congratulations to the host, your courage is commendable. You need to inform me before traveling. Real-time stops during the traveling process. The host can travel with confidence. After completing the prescribed tasks, you can choose to return to this world. This traveling is about to begin, 3, 2, 1. As the system counted down, as soon as he finished speaking, Qin Xiao's eyes went dark and he lost consciousness. When he opened his eyes again, he was already on a shabby street. There was no one around, and the ground was littered with garbage and fallen leaves. The two-story buildings one after another also look very dilapidated. It's obvious that this is a very poor community. System, tell me where this place is. Qin Xiao asked in his mind. The identity has been loaded and the relevant memory has been generated. Please read it yourself, host. The memory given by the system is very strange. Compared with the memory of that dead ghost Qin Xiao, it is completely integrated into Qin Xiao's mind. The memory of identity in this world is like a book that Qin Xiao needs to read through. It does not have the feeling of personal experience. Qin Xiao, 22 years old, graduated from the University of California, Los Angeles. He had excellent grades in school and received a scholarship from Stark Industries. This led to an internship at Stark Industries. It seems that the system is not bad, at least it gives an identity that is relatively close to the protagonist. Although it is very unrealistic for an intern to meet Tony Stark, at least there is a little chance. After muttering a few words, Qin Xiao continued to look through his memories. What happens next is interesting. When Qin Xiao was 13 years old, a black man's home next door was broken into by a large number of Hydra terrorists, and the fighting spread to their home. His parents died in that battle. I don't know if it was out of guilt, but the black man has been sponsoring Qin Xiao's studies and life. They have maintained good contact over the years, and this time Qin Xiao came to Baltimore, the capital of Maryland, to find the black man. Tell him the good news about your internship at Stark. And the identity of that black man is Isaiah, the first-generation super soldier before Steve Rogers. Popular Science, Isaiah, the first-generation super soldier, appeared in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. During World War II, he joined the army and underwent transformation. Later, he failed the mission and was imprisoned in a prison cell for 30 years of human experimentation by the government. After he was released, he was still alive. Often hunted by Hydra. Among them is the Winter Soldier. Chapter 2: The First-Generation Super Soldier Isaiah. Qin Xiao didn't understand why the system gave him such an identity. I don't know why I threw myself here. When I asked the system also said to let the host explore on its own. But judging from the current identity and experience, the system is not in vain. In order to better integrate into this role, Qin Xiao continued to read through the memories related to Isaiah along the way. After walking about a street, Qin Xiao came to an old house. After hesitating for a moment, he reached out and rang the doorbell. Who? A dark-skinned old man with a lot of grey hair and beard came out, but it was absolutely impossible to tell from his appearance that this old man was 88 years old. He looks to be in his 60s at most. By the way, Qin Xiao arrived in 2008, before Tony Stark was kidnapped. Oh! Qin Xiao, my child. Are you okay? After seeing Qin Xiao, Isaiah opened the door enthusiastically and gave Qin Xiao a hug. Qin Xiao hesitated for a moment, then put his hand on Isaiah's back and hugged the old man. What's wrong with you? Boy, what happened? Isaiah felt something strange about Qin Xiao and asked doubtfully. Oh, it's nothing. I just feel that you have been like this since you were a child. Now that I have graduated from college, you still haven't changed at all. I feel a little emotional. Qin Xiao answered intelligently. You know, my aging rate is slower than that of ordinary people, and my body is stronger than that of ordinary people, so. Isaiah spread his hands and said helplessly. The abilities brought to him by the super serum only hurt him. 30 years of not seeing the light of day and being experimented on humans tortured him all the time. Come on, come in, don't talk about those unhappy things. Isaiah pulled Qin Xiao into the house. In the plot arranged by the system, Qin Xiao saw the Superman side of Isaiah when he was a child. For a long time after Qin Xiao's parents died, he lived with Isaiah, and there were no secrets between them. Later, Isaiah was afraid that Hydra people would come again, so for Qin Xiao's safety, he was sent to a social welfare institution. He just secretly gave Qin Xiao some financial support. Didn't you say you were looking for a job in Los Angeles? Why did you suddenly come all the way east to find me? It can be seen that Isaiah is very happy to see Qin Xiao, but he does not approve of Qin Xiao suddenly coming to him. Because of safety issues. I got an internship opportunity at Stark Industries, and I thought I should tell you. Qin Xiao tried his best to look proud. Oh! God! Stark Industries, this is great, I knew you could do it. We have to go out to buy something and have a good drink tonight. Isaiah stood up and said happily. Boom! The two of them were sitting face to face, but as soon as Qin Xiao finished speaking, Isaiah suddenly stood up and took 2 steps to the side. At this time, a gunshot rang out, and a bullet passed through the window and whizzed past Isaiah's head where he had just been. It passed directly between Qin Xiao's chest and abdomen from top to bottom. Qin Xiao was not prepared at all. He only felt numbness in his chest, and then blood slowly began to spread along the fibers of his clothes. Damn it, you're so bad! Qin Xiao muttered something, tilted his head and passed out. In the darkness, Qin Xiao felt that all the cells and blood in his body began to boil. Itch, the kind that goes deep into the bone marrow, as if thousands of ants are constantly crawling around in your body. What followed immediately was pain, as if the whole body had been crushed to pieces by a huge hydraulic press. And Qin Xiao's own consciousness seemed to be trapped in endless darkness. I felt 2 extreme pains, sometimes painful and sometimes itchy, but I didn't even have a carrier to struggle. Not knowing how long it took, Qin Xiao slowly opened his eyes again. The first thing that caught his eye was Isaiah's face with red eyes. You finally woke up, kid, God bless you, damn it, I told you you shouldn't have come back to see me. Isaiah's face was full of surprise, guilt, and remorse. What happened? Did I get shot? Qin Xiao struggled to sit up with his upper body. It was a dark room, more like a basement or something. There was a machine for checking heart rate on the bedside table, with a tray on it. Inside were scalpels, tweezers, and some bloody gauze and cotton. There was also a bullet with blood stains on it. It seems I'm fine. Qin Xiao used both hands to try hard to sit up completely. Strangely, there was no unexpected pain in my body. Qin Xiao took a look at himself and saw that the wound had healed and scabbed. There was no pain at the wound, but a slight itching. This is a state where the wound is nearly fully healed. How long have I been unconscious? Qin Xiao asked in surprise. Less than 3 hours. Isaiah raised his hand and glanced at his watch and said. What about my wound? Qin Xiao asked, pointing to his chest. You lost too much blood. After I killed the killer, I didn't have time to send you to the hospital. I had to risk saving you myself. Fortunately, I prepared some commonly used medical equipment. As for your wound, I told you that you didn't have time to go to the hospital. I remember that you have the same blood type as mine. I know this is very dangerous. Fortunately, you did it and successfully survived the transformation of the serum. Isaiah said guiltily. Qin Xiao felt happy. Doesn't that mean that he had been injected with super serum in disguise? There were some fluctuations in my heart, and the strength in my hands was inevitably a little unbalanced, so I exerted a slight force. Qin Xiao discovered that the metal guardrail next to the simple hospital bed had been accidentally pinched by him. I became a super soldier. Qin Xiao looked at his hands in disbelief and said. I didn't prepare anything, I came up and got shot, and when I woke up, I became a person like Captain America. I'll get you a glass of water. Compared to Qin Xiao's excitement, Isaiah just sighed, silently stood up and went out to pour water. System? What on earth is going on? Don't say that this has nothing to do with you. Qin Xiao called the system in his mind. Gift package for newbies. This world is so dangerous. This system always gives the host a little bit of capital to survive. Isn't it a surprise? %U0026. Qin Xiao almost spit out a mouthful of old blood. Super soldiers are good, but can you say it in advance? Also, does it have to be done this way? Qin Xiao directly said what he meant and questioned the system. This is to allow the host to perfectly integrate into this world and to better explain the origin of the ability. I hope the host will understand my good intentions and not bite Lu Dongbin. What the hell, if you dare, come out and see if I can hack you to death or not. Chapter 3 Alternative Ways to Obtain Super Serum. A super soldier directly transfused blood to an ordinary person and successfully gave birth to another super soldier? Qin Xiao actually thought this was nonsense. But this is the Marvel world. If a spider bites you, you can transform. What's more, you have a system. Anyway, no matter what, you finally have a little self-protection ability, right? Qin Xiao just tried it casually on the road and easily lifted a pickup truck with one hand. Although he only lifted one side due to the angle, from his own feeling, the weight of a car seems to be nothing for Qin Xiao. After this happened, Isaiah felt very guilty. After telling Qin Xiao not to show his ability casually and confirming that Qin Xiao's injury was not serious, the poor old man drove Qin Xiao out of his secret basement with red eyes. Qin Xiao knew that once he left, the old man would probably move away and would not let himself find it easily in the future. Although the relationship between the two was modified by the system, the old man's affection for him would not be fake. He would find a chance to make up for it later. Anyway, according to the plot, Isaiah is still alive and well after the end of Avengers 4. Now take care of yourself first. Because the system has issued the first task. Approach Tony Stark and successfully attract his attention, let him remember your name, so as to facilitate the subsequent tasks. P.S. Although the host is equipped with the system, it is still necessary to hug the thighs of the rich when you first arrive. In fact, the task is quite difficult. Who is Tony Stark? He is a genius scientist, CEO of Stark Industries, and the richest man in the United States and even the world. Especially his current personality, it is extremely difficult for ordinary people to get along with him. I can't get close to him with the power I got from Isaiah's blood. Let's not talk about whether he will call the police, just look at Isaiah's past experience. Qin Xiao doesn't want the government or the military to conduct human experiments on him. I will think about it slowly, but in 2 days it will be the day to report to Stark Industries. Qin Xiao bought a plane ticket and flew across the United States from the East Coast to Los Angeles. Stark Industries is very large, and they have office buildings in New York and Los Angeles. The place where Qin Xiao did his internship this time was the headquarters of Stark Industries in Los Angeles. The internship position was a laboratory assistant. The so-called laboratory assistant is actually a younger brother or a handyman. He helped people in Stark Industries, copying documents, serving tea and water. In this way, Qin Xiao became a 9-to-5 office worker in the Marvel movie world. He shuttled between Stark Industries and his small apartment every day. Fortunately, Stark Industries had a good salary and the work in the laboratory was easy enough. Life was pretty good, but the mission was still a long way off. After working for more than 2 months, let alone getting close to Tony Stark, Qin Xiao didn't even see him once, but the villain in Iron Man. The big bald man named Obadiah came to the laboratory several times. But Qin Xiao only saw him from a distance. This is not a solution. When can the mission be completed? You know, it's April 2008 now. Who knows when Tony Stark will go to Afghanistan? When he becomes Iron Man, it will be even more difficult to approach him. Qin Xiao was in the tea room holding a cup of coffee in a daze. A middle-aged man in a white coat and a Mediterranean hairstyle entered the tea room with a cup. Qin, why do you look depressed? Did your girlfriend dump you or did you encounter any trouble? Come and tell me, you know, people of my age can always give young people some good advice. Oh, Dr. Rex, thank you for your kindness, I just think this job is a little different from what I imagined. Qin Xiao certainly couldn't tell him his true thoughts, so he said casually. Oh, young man, don't be so pessimistic, everyone who comes here always starts as an assistant, you should calm your mind, I remember you have been here for almost 3 months, right? Then congratulations, your internship period is about to end. Looking around and seeing that there were no people around, Dr. Rex whispered to Qin Xiao mysteriously. I heard that when the interns become full-time employees, the boss will come down to interview and assign suitable positions. This is a rare opportunity, so you must cheer up, young man. Boss? Qin Xiao asked. Tony Stark, my God, what is the name of our company, Stark Industries, who else could it be? I gave you an A grade, so be prepared. It is Stark Industries' tradition that every time someone enters the company, they have to intern in different departments for 3 months, and then be recommended and scored by the department manager, and then interviewed and assessed by the Human Resources Department, and then your job position is reassigned. The director of the laboratory where Qin Xiao interned is Dr. Rex in front of him. The information he revealed is very important to Qin Xiao. If it is confirmed that the person who comes to interview at that time is Tony Stark, then Qin Xiao needs to think carefully about how to attract Tony Stark's attention. The 3-month deadline soon arrived, and Qin Xiao came to the laboratory early this morning. But I was informed that I no longer had to work in the laboratory today and would go directly to the top floor for an interview. Qin Xiao was overjoyed. He had been coming to Stark Industries for a few months and he knew it. The top floor is Tony Stark's personal area, which not only has a small laboratory, office, but also various rooms with fitness and entertainment functions. Except for Obadiah, Pepper, and a few other people in the entire company, no one else has the authority to go up. Let yourself go to the top floor for an interview. It seems that Tony Stark is really here today. Qin Xiao went up to the top floor excitedly. First he was taken to a small conference room, Tony Stark's exclusive bodyguard. Happy appeared first and conducted a safety check on everyone in a serious manner. Then the order was arranged for more than 10 interns. Unfortunately, Qin Xiao was the last one. After sitting in the conference room for about 10 minutes, I saw Xiao Qiao holding a folder and calling people by their names one by one. Perhaps due to aesthetic differences, Pepper looks a bit younger than in the movie. But it doesn't quite fit Qin Xiao's aesthetic of female characters in Marvel movies. Qin Xiao still prefers the widowed sister and the Scarlet Witch in the early stage. Well, then it seems that I have a chance to see the two of them. Qin Xiao became inexplicably excited. Tony Stark's interview was very fast, almost 3 to 5 minutes alone. Soon everyone in the conference room left one after another. Until finally, Xiao Qiao opened the door and came in and called Qin Xiao's name. Xiao Qin. After reading Qin Xiao's name with some confusion, Xiao Qiao looked at Qin Xiao with a smile and said, "You can come with me, Mr. Stark is waiting for you." Chapter 4 Tony Stark. There was a ring in the interview room, and it seemed like this should be where Tony Stark usually works out. It looked familiar. After looking at it for a long time, Qin Xiao remembered that this seemed to be the place where Tony Stark interviewed the Black Widow in Iron Man 2. This is quite in line with Tony Stark's character. Sitting in the office with a straight face is not his style. Korean. As soon as Qin Xiao came in, Tony Stark opened the door and asked, "Me? I'm Chinese." Qin Xiao pointed at himself and said, "Yes." Tony Stark shook his fist and made a victory sign. Happy next to him took out a $10 bill with a dark face and put it on the table. These two guys were actually betting on themselves. Qin Xiao grumbled in his heart and walked up to Tony Stark. "Honestly, I don't really like facing other people. It's not about you. I don't really like facing strangers, especially men. If I hadn't promised everyone on the board of directors this year, I wouldn't have come here to read your internship report. So now let's seize the moment. First of all, congratulations to you, Mr. Qin, your internship report is quite outstanding. The supervisor of your laboratory gave you an A-level evaluation, saying that you are very helpful to everyone in the laboratory, so now there is only one question left. Do you want to stay in the laboratory or go to the legal department to do what you are better at? Legal work. Qin Xiao's information showed that he graduated from the law department, so Tony Stark asked. To be honest, I don't care. It depends on how you arrange it. Also, Mr. Stark, actually what I'm good at is not law." Qin Xiao spread his hands and said. "Oh." Tony Stark looked down at Qin Xiao's information and said jokingly after making sure that he had read it correctly. "Is it Chinese Kung Fu?" "I do know a bit of Chinese Kung Fu, although I'm not particularly strong. For example, the burly bodyguard beside you, I can only deal with, about 10, but this is not me." Wait, I have to interrupt you. You just said you could deal with 10, me." Happy on the side couldn't listen anymore and directly interrupted Qin Xiao's speech. "I'm sorry, boss, I have to interrupt your work. It's a matter of my dignity." Happy has been following Tony Stark for more than 10 years and is one of the people he trusts the most. So speaking is more natural. However, the two of them were making trouble, and Tony Stark became very interested. Ignoring Happy's words, he instead said to Qin Xiao with interest. "You haven't answered his question yet. Are you sure you can deal with him like this, 10? He admired Qin Xiao's confidence, but Tony Stark wouldn't believe it even if he beat 10 of them. But for young people, it's normal to speak exaggeratedly. But Qin Xiao nodded extremely seriously. "Almost, 12 at most. After all, he still looks quite burly, and he still needs to spend some energy. With Qin Xiao's current physical fitness, not to mention 10 or 100 ordinary people like Happy could be knocked down with just one punch. But it doesn't matter, just get Tony Stark's attention and complete the mission." But Happy is obviously a little angry, as Tony Stark's personal bodyguard. It doesn't matter if his fighting ability is questioned, not to mention that the opponent looks like such a weak young man. "Boy, I don't know if your Chinese Kung Fu is as powerful as you boast, but I can give you a chance to take back your words, otherwise." Happy took a step forward and squeezed his fist at Qin Xiao. Qin Xiao smiled slightly, and instead of paying attention to Happy, he came directly to a sandbag. "Twist your waist, Inhale, step forward, and punch the sandbag hard. Bang! The sandbag was directly destroyed by a punch. Oh! My God! Oh! My God! Tony Stark and Pepper Potts are surprised at the same time. The Kung Fu I learned is not very good at competing with others. I can't control my power well. Are you sure you want to continue now? Let me tell you first, I don't have money to pay for medical expenses. After Qin Xiao finished speaking, he could clearly see Happy's Adam's apple rolling and he swallowed a large mouthful of saliva. Okay, come back, Happy. His punch is more powerful than the world boxing champion. You don't have to worry that I will fire you for this. Tony Stark stood up, came to Happy, patted him on the shoulder, and smoothed things over. Then he asked Qin Xiao. How is this done? I mean, what I did just now is obviously beyond some. I mean, it seems very unscientific, do you understand what I mean? Tony Stark was obviously interested. Qin Xiao finally breathed a sigh of relief. Because the system prompt has already sounded. Congratulations to the host. Your scene just now left a very deep impression on Tony Stark. Your name has stuck in his mind. The mission has been successfully completed. 500 reward points. It is detected that the host has obtained points, and the system mall is opened. Finally completing the task, Qin Xiao breathed a sigh of relief, but he didn't bother to check what was in the mall. Instead, he smiled slightly and said to Tony Stark. It's just a technique that explodes in an instant and requires years of practice. Practice all year round. Tony Stark muttered softly. If I learn this kind of fighting technique from you, can I reach your level? As he spoke, he gestured like punching a sandbag. I'm sorry, Mr. Stark, with all due respect, these skills require tedious and painful practice day after day. I don't think you can do it. Qin Xiao shrugged. Tony Stark is really interested, but Qin Xiao really has nothing to do, he has mouse skills. This is what happened after Isaiah gave him a random blood transfusion. Without a system, we don't know whether we can survive the mutation. But in the eyes of Tony Stark, this kind of performance became a kind of contempt. You doubt me? Do you think I can't do it? Tony Stark said a little competitively. Originally he was just curious to ask. Although he is egoistic, arrogant, and self-righteous. But he is definitely not the kind of person who has no self-awareness at all. He knows exactly where his strengths lie. But Qin Xiao's words made him feel a rare unconvinced feeling for some reason. Just like when he was a child, his father always praised Captain America Steve Rogers in front of him, and then criticized him for being useless. Chapter 5 Encounter in the Bar. Pepper, do you think I can learn his kind of skill? Tony Stark turned to look at Pepper Potts and asked. Pepper looked embarrassed. Tony, you are assigning jobs to those who have passed the internship today. I think we should finish our work first and then discuss learning Kung Fu. No. 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 I have found a good job for Mr. Qin, my personal fighting coach. You are responsible for making an appointment with him and discussing salary issues. Tony Stark said with determination. I need to go back to my laboratory now. I still have a set of missile data to process. You can arrange the time, Pepper. Goodbye, Mr. Coach. Tony Stark definitely didn't ask Qin Xiao if he agreed or not. He picked up his coat and walked away minding his own business. This is indeed Iron Man. Even in his previous life, Qin Xiao's favorite movie was Iron Man. I still have the urge to punch him in the face. Just teach me if you tell me. Have you ever asked me? But in order to get closer to the character, Qin Xiao still laughed at himself and said nothing. Pepper took a step forward and said understandingly. Sorry, Tony, he's always been like this, I hope you don't mind. Qin Xiao shrugged indifferently. It doesn't matter. At least I know that he won't let me down in terms of salary, right? Pepper also smiled, as you wish, you won't be disappointed. Primary super serum, the kind injected by Captain America, which initially breaks through the limits of the human body, changes the genetic sequence, greatly increases strength and metabolism, and has a certain effect in delaying aging. 1000 points. Money, real world 1 million/1 point. After redemption, you can directly transfer money to the host's bank card, which is safe and trouble-free. Elementary fighting skills, the level of the world's top special forces warriors, a blend of various fighting techniques, fast, accurate and ruthless, focusing on killing with one hit. 200 points. Primary weapon proficiency, be able to use most cold weapons proficiently, and initially fully master the use skills of each weapon. 200 points. E-class combat uniforms can be disguised as any daily clothing and can withstand any known ammunition-type firearms, except special ammunition, such as vibranium, URU metal, etc. It also has certain damage reduction to small thermal weapons. In addition to bulletproof it can also resist the damage of cold weapons made of ordinary materials. 300 points. E-level cold weapon customization, a suitable weapon can greatly increase your combat effectiveness, especially when facing some opponents with strong defenses. For E-level power, you can refer to the E-level combat suit. 300 points. Qin Xiao thought that when the system was opened, the mall would directly open everything, but it turned out that it was just a first-class mall. For such a first-level mall, Qin Xiao felt that the 500 points in his hand were not enough. It's just that Qin Xiao already has the effect of the primary super serum, so the most expensive one is omitted. After thinking for a long time, Qin Xiao chose the primary combat and E-level combat uniforms. Firstly, 500 points is just right. Secondly, it is also because he can use primary combat right now, and it is currently the best option to increase his combat effectiveness. As for the combat uniform, firstly, because the points are just right, and secondly, because the defense against thermal weapons is still necessary in the early stage. And according to the direction of the plot, whether it is facing the Iron Overlord in the end or going to fight in Afghanistan, with this combat uniform, Qin Xiao will have a lot less worries. At least he's not invulnerable yet. The second-level mall requires a total of 5,000 points to be fully opened. Qin Xiao can only change these two to improve himself. The system has not given any tasks for the time being, but Xiao Jiao has offered Qin Xiao a weekly salary of $100,000. This actually made Qin Xiao's life in this world much more comfortable. It's just that since the last time we met, Tony Stark seems to have plunged into the laboratory. He didn't come to ask Qin Xiao to teach him at all, which made Qin Xiao temporarily idle. In desperation, Qin Xiao had no choice but to go to the bar every night and start a rich nightlife. Since Hollywood is here in Los Angeles, the bars here are definitely world-class. After all, so many celebrities and rich people gather here. Recently, Qin Xiao found a bar that is more suitable for him, the Roger Room. The reason is that there are mostly young people in this bar, many young couples, single young people, and young actors who have just come to Hollywood and are not yet famous. Relatively speaking, the people here are relatively simple compared to other bars. Although Qin Xiao also came here with the intention of hunting for beauty, he didn't want to meet some girls who were too hardworking or just for the dollars in your pocket. The most important thing is that Qin Xiao doesn't like people who smell too heavy of dust. For several days, Qin Xiao finally found a target. She must be a little girl with a dream of becoming a star, and she looks quite delicate. Qin Xiao has been observing secretly for several days and decided to take the initiative today. Just as he was about to stand up, a slightly hoarse but seductive female voice suddenly came to his ears. "Hi! Are you leaving? How about sitting there for a while and having a drink with me?" Qin Xiao turned back subconsciously. "I almost said fuck." The woman in front of me was the Black Widow, also known as the Black Widow. Like Pepper Potts and Tony Stark, I wonder if there is an automatic correction in this real world. The Black Widow looks a little more immature than in the movie. Today she is not wearing the black tights that make people's blood boil. Instead, she is wearing a bright red dress. An angelic face, not at all rough like Westerners. The snow-white skin is faintly reflective under the light. The proud double peaks are set off by the clothes, revealing a round part, matching the white and shiny skin. Absolutely, absolutely. Qin Xiao can't think of any other adjectives. If you think the Black Widow is not good looking now, watch Scarlett Johansson's early movies, absolutely an angel face. Here is the corrected appearance of her youth. This first generation of heroes of the Avengers gave Qin Xiao an incomparable shock as soon as he appeared. Of course, although he was shocked, Qin Xiao was not obsessed with it. He first went through his mind to see if he had been targeted by S.H.I.E.L.D. or Hydra since he came to this world. The only intersection should be the assassination by Isaiah, who should be Hydra's people, but the assassin should have been cleared by Isaiah, and the system arrangement did not expose him to their sight. It should be safe. Chapter 6 Teasing the Black Widow. Black Widow is the ace agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Qin Xiao knows that she will not appear in this bar for no reason. But as long as it's not for him, Qin Xiao is not afraid of trouble. Not to mention that he is an important plot character, just with the angelic face and devilish body in front of you, there is no reason to miss it, right? Qin Xiao's mind changed several times in an instant. Seeing that Qin Xiao hadn't spoken for a long time, Black Widow opened her red lips and spoke again. What happened? Do you not understand English or do you not want to talk to me? Sorry, I was just thinking about how to trick such a beautiful lady into coming to my apartment to spend the night with me. With no more burden in his heart, Qin Xiao smiled slightly and sat down. Then it depends on your ability. Black Widow smiled. Waiter, please give me a glass of wine according to the temperament of this beautiful lady. Qin Xiao snapped his fingers and handed the waiter a $100 bill. Keep the rest as a tip. Thank you, sir. It was rare for the waiter to see such a generous guest, so he bowed slightly and thanked Qin Xiao. Don't thank me. If the wine you mix doesn't suit the temperament of these ladies, I will smash your balls into burritos with one punch. Qin Xiao has been coming here every day recently, sitting at the bar every time, and he has become quite familiar with the bartender. He shrunk his neck, smiled, and quickly prepared a cocktail for Black Widow. Burrito, the handsome guy has a sense of humor, so that's a bonus. Black Widow said with a smile. Qin Xiao noticed that the Black Widow looked at the three strong men at the innermost table from time to time. He didn't care, but looked into Black Widow's charming eyes and said, there are many areas where I can add points. You have plenty of time to understand them slowly. The Asians I know are more reserved, and few are like you. That's because you don't know enough Asians. The two chatted without saying a word. After chatting for about 10 minutes, Qin Xiao noticed several men getting up to leave. Black Widow pretended to glance over there casually, I'm going to the bathroom. I left the bar with an excuse. Qin Xiao knew that she was going to find the three strong men, but he didn't reveal it and smiled slightly, indicating that she was free to do so. System mission, how can a true gentleman get girls to fight? Help Black Widow subdue the three men and let Black Widow remember you. As one of the first heroes of the Avengers, getting to know her will help with subsequent missions in this world. P.S. Even from a man's perspective, how can such a beauty be let go so easily? Host, come on. Have to. It was supposed to be an easy way to seduce beautiful women, but he had to get into trouble. But since it was a mission, there were rewards, so I had no choice but to take action. Silently, he followed Black Widow out of the back door of the bar. I found that the three men were almost at the entrance of the alley. Black Widow stood in the middle of the alley and said something to the three men. Qin Xiao could only tell that it was in Russian and had no idea what was said. But it probably wasn't a good word, because Black Widow finished it in one sentence. One of the men was about to reach out and take out a gun from his arms, but was blocked by another man. The pistol didn't have a silencer and they didn't want to cause trouble. It's clear that they don't take Black Widow very seriously as a woman. As for Qin Xiao, a thin-looking Asian who had just come out of the back door of the bar, he was automatically used as a background by them. The three of them didn't say anything, they laughed ferociously and rushed towards the Black Widow. Who is Black Widow, and how could these three people take her seriously? He smiled slightly and made the signature tilt of his head before taking action. He also began to prepare to speed up and rush towards the three strong men. As a result, before she could start running, a black shadow rushed over beside her with a whoosh. At this moment, Qin Xiao not only had the super soldier serum on his body, but was also blessed with clothes transformed into E-class combat uniforms. He also has fighting skills comparable to those of the world's top soldiers. In a few flashes, he arrived in front of the three of them, and with a grab of his right hand, he pressed it against the face of the man in front. Without stopping, the inertia of the body drove his arms to cover the man's face and slap him hard in the back. Boom! The back of the man's head hit the bridge of the nose of the man behind him accurately. He released his hand and struck the side with an elbow before the last man could break in time. Qin Xiao hit his temple with an elbow. Qin Xiao fell to the ground neatly, and Qin Xiao gave each of the two guys, who were holding their heads and noses with their heads down, a knife. In less than 2 seconds, he rushed past the widowed sister and knocked down these three people, all in one smooth motion. After finishing, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he turned around to strike a better-looking pose. Unexpectedly, when he turned around, he almost ran into the muzzle of a black hole. Fake! What are you doing? Qin Xiao was almost shocked when he pretended to be cool and was forced to do so. Who are you? The widowed sister's expression was a little serious. The three people opposite were not ordinary people. Even if she took action, it would take several rounds to knock down those three people. It was a good thing for Qin Xiao that he knocked them all down before he could see clearly what happened. Man! Qin Xiao raised his hands helplessly. Look, I don't mean any harm. I just saw you going out and fighting with others. I should be a bit more gentlemanly, right? You don't want to buy me a drink, but you still point a gun at my head. Qin Xiao said with a smile. Putting aside whether Black Widow has murderous intent or not, at this distance, he is sure to avoid being shot, not to mention that the clothes on her body are invulnerable. Black Widow did not feel any hostility from Qin Xiao, but even so, she still cautiously took 2 steps back. The muzzle of the gun never left Qin Xiao's forehead. You get out first, I want to take these 3 people away. Okay. Qin Xiao looked at the Black Widow and slowly took a step back with his right foot. Just as the widowed sister breathed a sigh of relief, Qin Xiao stepped back with his right leg. A Z-shaped movement, avoiding the widowed sister's aim, and had already cut to her side before she could react. His right hand had already snatched the mini pistol from the widowed sister's hand. The Black Widow in the movie is just an ordinary person with super high fighting skills and physical fitness. She is not genetically modified like in the comics. Qin Xiao has a super serum, and his speed and reaction have exceeded the limits of human beings. He was calculating mentally but not intentionally, so the widowed sister naturally fell into the trap. He put the gun directly to Black Widow's head, pushing her whole body against the wall. What do you want? The Black Widow looked at Qin Xiao expressionlessly, but her right hand slowly approached her thigh dishonestly. Punishing you will repay your kindness with vengeance. Qin Xiao smiled slightly and dismantled Black Widow's small pistol into pieces. The basic combat skills include the use of general firearms. I don't know whether the shooting is accurate, but there is no problem in understanding and using it. He threw the pieces on the ground and held a bullet in his hand. He gently threw it towards the middle of the widow's clothes. It was rightly sandwiched between the twin peaks. Did you know that Cupid can not only use a bow and arrow, but also occasionally play with a pistol. He smiled and touched Black Widow's waist. Qin Xiao stepped back fiercely, laughed loudly, and turned back to the bar. This damn bastard! It wasn't until Qin Xiao returned to the bar that the Black Widow's right hand slowly stretched out from her thigh in her skirt. He held a small electric shock device in his hand. She was just about to launch an attack, but she didn't know whether Qin Xiao had planned it or it was just a coincidence that he finally turned around and left. Although she was very curious about who Qin Xiao was, the mission was still important right now. As for Qin Xiao, she could just investigate it casually when she had the opportunity in the future. With a bit of disgust and an indescribable feeling, Black Widow took out her mobile phone and called people from the bureau to come over and clean up the mess. Qin Xiao didn't know what Black Widow was thinking, mainly because he had completed the task. From a personal point of view, it can be considered that it left a deep impression on the widowed sister. We will talk about other things later. That's pretty much it for today. If we stay any longer, we'll have to meet someone from S.H.I.E.L.D. Of course I am interested in the widowed sister, but for now, it is better to stay away from S.H.I.E.L.D. Thinking of the scene when the last bullet slipped into the Black Widow's clothes, Qin Xiao felt hot in his heart. When I entered the bar, I quickly took a look at the girl I had been paying attention to for several days, only to find that she was gone. Oh! Go back to sleep. Chapter 7 Fighting Coach takes office. After going to Stark Industries twice and getting 2 checks worth $100,000, Qin Xiao finally received a call from Xiao Jiao. Tony Stark finally remembered himself as a fighting coach. In fact, although Tony Stark is very pretentious, when he wants to learn something from others, still quite respectful of others. Happy was specially sent to take Qin Xiao to Tony's house. Maybe it was Qin Xiao's punch that exploded the sandbag that deeply shocked Happy last time. As Tony Stark's personal bodyguard, he felt that he needed to strengthen his professional standards. On the way, he asked Qin Xiao that he also wanted to learn Kung Fu. Qin Xiao said it didn't matter. As long as your boss agrees, I have no objection. Compared with the mansion on the cliff by the sea seen in the movie, it is more shocking to see it in person. This is almost as big as a small or medium-sized shopping mall. What's even more annoying is that in such a big house, he doesn't even ask for any servants. In addition to his own bedroom, he usually hides in the basement and makes inventions. What's the use of having such a big house? Compared with the house, Jarvis, who already had a prototype of artificial intelligence, did not shock Qin Xiao so much. After all, when watching the movie, the intuitive feeling of Jarvis was no different from now. Just like that, with a sense of revenge against the evil capitalists and Tony's last shit. Qin Xiao started his first lesson with Tony. A basic martial arts skill that all Chinese people know, Zhama Buletin. Go further down. Your thighs and calves are at a 90-degree angle. Move your butt down a little. Don't stick it out. Oh! Damn it! Happy, are you trying to seduce me with your fat butt? Come down. Tony Stark and Qin Xiao were not that familiar yet, so he did not let Qin Xiao enter his underground laboratory. Instead, he took Qin Xiao to the large balcony outside. I'm here to learn Kung Fu, the kind of fighting with people, not to practice these damn weird postures. Happy said dissatisfiedly as his butt couldn't be lowered for a long time. This is a basic skill of Chinese Kung Fu. I have practiced similar skills. This can make your lower limbs stronger and less likely to be knocked down by the enemy. What surprised Qin Xiao was that Tony had also practiced Wing Chun for a while. I also specially worshipped a Wing Chun master. In fact, actor Robert Downey Jr. practiced Wing Chun, not Tony Stark, so I will use it here. At this moment, Tony not only seemed to be at ease with Happy's incomprehension, but he also took the time to explain it to Happy. When the boss spoke, Happy could only squat down again and swing his butt vigorously. It took a long time to get the posture right. But I have a question. Tony had already done the horse walking, and he was very relaxed in the first few minutes, and he could still find time to chat with Qin Xiao. You say? Qin Xiao got a chair from nowhere and said while lying down. The master I used to learn Wing Chun from is a very famous martial arts master in China. Why do you feel that he is not as powerful as you? Real Kung Fu is a killing technique. There are very few that are spread outside. Nowadays, most of the Chinese Kung Fu outside is just some performance-based tricks. To put it simply, it's like the difference between Hogwarts and the magicians outside, understand? Muggles. What Qin Xiao said is not nonsense, let alone the Marvel world, there will be Kung Fu characters like Shang-Chi in the later period. Let's just say that in the previous life, real martial arts has indeed declined in this era. You, the average person, simply cannot find the real masters. Whether it is a famous martial arts school or a martial arts master outside, they are all doing tricks and embroidering their legs, and they are all for performance. I don't know if Tony has been free recently, but almost every day he asks Happy to pick up Qin Xiao and practice. This forced Qin Xiao to take this matter seriously. Although Qin Xiao does not know the real Chinese boxing technique. But facing Tony and Happy, two pure laymen, it was still possible to fool around. Let them both do horse walking every day and then practice physical fitness for an hour. Finally, let the two of them fight each other, with Qin Xiao giving guidance. Apart from anything else, after nearly a month, their fighting skills have indeed improved rapidly. The biggest gain for Qin Xiao is that he has become more and more familiar with Tony Stark. After getting along for a month, Qin Xiao unexpectedly discovered that the two of them had a lot in common. I hate all formalism, don't like people who are too serious, think they are hypocritical, etc. In fact, these are present in the vast majority of people, but the vast majority of people are wallowing in this long world of mortals and have been smoothed away by reality. For example, Qin Xiao in his previous life. Tony Stark is lucky. His identity and talent determine that he can maintain his own attitude and persistence in the world. But after traveling through time and gaining access to the system, the free and unrestrained nature of his body slowly began to show itself. The most important thing is that they both have the same bad taste. For example, Happy was given several nicknames by two people recently. Fat Ass Butter, Elegant Big Ass Gigolo and more. As a result, Happy now no longer dares to practice fighting with the two of them. Mainly because Tony Stark is indeed quite talented, with constant physical training and Qin Xiao's guidance. Happy has gradually become no match for Tony. This is definitely a huge insult to a bodyguard. I heard that he has recently begun to have thoughts about transferring to the security department of Stark Industries. Just when Qin Xiao was busy training Tony every day and slowly building a friendship with him. SHIELD headquarters in Washington. Director Nick Fury's office. The bald braised egg was maintaining his usual style, standing by the window and looking coldly at the scenery outside. And behind him, standing was the Black Widow in a black tights. Compared with the last time Qin Xiao met at the bar, the Black Widow in combat uniform looked more heroic. Almost all the agents committed suicide. The only two remaining ones gritted their teeth during the interrogation and refused to speak no matter how hard they were tortured. Black Widow said calmly. It doesn't matter. Anyway, all the hidden connections in the United States have been removed by us. They can't do anything they want to do. It doesn't matter if they know it or not. How do you feel about having you deal with your former colleagues with your own hands, Agent Romanoff? Nick Fury turned around and asked. I did so many things wrong in the past, and I was happy to use my knowledge of them to sabotage their activities. It was like making up for past mistakes for me. Black Widow's expression was very calm, as if she had completely emerged from her previous shadow. Oh? If you really think so, that's great. This matter is over. We don't need to discuss it anymore. Let's send those two agents to leave in peace. I feel sorry for that Asian you met last time. People are interested. Nick Fury pointed to a document on his desk and said. The first page of that document was Qin Xiao's name and photo, and underneath that document was the document of the Avengers Project. Chapter 8 Targeted by SHIELD. Hawkeye and Black Widow almost represent the highest level of fighting for ordinary people on this planet, whether it is speed, physical fitness, or strength. And according to Black Widow's description of Qin Xiao, it was an existence that could crush her far away. It was precisely because of this unreasonableness that Black Widow directly drew her gun when Qin Xiao showed no malice. This sense of oppression stemming from strength had only been brought to her by one person in her career as an agent. That is the legendary Winter Soldier. According to what the Widow said to Captain America in Captain America 2, the year when the Widow was shot in the abdomen by the Winter Soldier should have been in 2009. It is now 2008. An Iron Man has not been born. Let's make a slight change. The super serum is not a trivial matter, so Black Widow told Nick Fury the whole thing exactly as it was, plus her own analysis and speculation. Nick Fury knew that the military still had some incomplete super serum samples, and it was impossible to create a real super soldier. So he doubted whether Qin Xiao had some kind of mutation by accident. So I followed Qin Xiao's life trajectory and everyone who appeared around him. The resources in Nick Fury's hands are not comparable to those of ordinary intelligence agencies. Soon all the experiences created by the system for Qin Xiao from childhood to adulthood were thoroughly investigated by Nick Fury. In the more than 20 years that Qin Xiao has been here, the only two extraordinary things that happened were the shooting incidents in which his parents died during his childhood, as well as the shooting incident that happened in Isaiah's house when Qin Xiao just traveled through it some time ago. However, in both incidents, there was a character who was deliberately erased. Isaiah. Isaiah is a being that the US government refuses to acknowledge. Isaiah, who had been squeezed out of his last bit of use by the government and was pardoned by a certain president, has been hiding in Tibet. After Nick Fury learned his name, all the classified files were on his desk within a few hours. With these, Nick Fury can figure things out. The super soldier who preceded Captain America, the first successful experiment. Black Widow said incredulously. Yes, there are always some bastards in the government who like to do dirty things. They served the country and fought against Hydra, but in the end they were thrown into the laboratory and imprisoned for 30 years. Nick Fury was indignant, and Isaiah's experience was indeed a bit too tragic. But Nick Fury knew very well that with Isaiah's power, it was impossible to extract the super serum on his own and successfully create a super soldier. So the only answer is an accident. Some kind of accident happened that allowed Qin Xiao to melt the super serum. Maybe it was the shooting case. Nick Fury analyzed the matter to a close. But no matter whether his analysis is correct or not, one thing is certain, that is, Qin Xiao is definitely a super warrior who has exceeded the limits of the human body. And he happens to have a plan that requires super soldiers. Agent Romanoff, your job in the next period of time is to get close to Qin Xiao. I need a comprehensive psychological evaluation and personality analysis report. The more detailed the better. Yes. Black Widow agreed, turned, and walked out of Nick Fury's office. Nick Fury sighed and set his sights on the Avengers plan. You know, this plan has been in his mind for more than 10 years. Not many people in the world know that aliens really exist, and that both individually and technologically, they are countless times more powerful than the Earth. The Earth needs some super soldiers, some superhuman beings, a group of superheroes that can one day resist alien civilization. During this period, Qin Xiao once again spent all the 500 points given in the last mission. E-level proficient in cold weapons, and even customized a Tang Dao. The system is very considerate. In order to facilitate Qin Xiao's carrying, there is only one handle in the initial state. The blade was cut into sections and hidden in the handle. When using it, just open the handle and flick it hard, and the blade will take shape immediately. The joints of each section are covered by the dragon-shaped relief on the blade. The entire blade is black, and only the blade exudes a hint of the cold light of the alloy material itself. Qin Xiao tried it, and ordinary metal materials could be easily split in half. Only certain special alloys can resist the slashing of this tang knife. With the weapon at hand, Qin Xiao's combat power has been greatly improved again. Qin, if you have time tonight, accompany me to a charity reception. In the basement of Tony's villa, Tony was severely beaten by Qin Xiao just now. At this moment, he was lying on the ring, looking at the ceiling, breathing heavily. Tony, I'm not your female companion. Why should I accompany you to some charity reception? I don't have that much money to do charity. Qin Xiao said while taking mineral water from the freezer. I'm Tony Stark, man. I never need a female companion when I go to a drinking party. As soon as I show up, all the women will rush towards me like crazy. But you don't have the chance to experience this. Do you want to go or not? There are many beauties and many Hollywood actresses. Speaking of the many beauties, Qin Xiao was a little moved. Then Tony Stark said again. You're only 22, man, for God's sake, I was partying every night when I was 22, you should make some friends now, come on. Let's go and relax together. I'm going to Afghanistan in a few days to sign a contract with the military. Let's just treat it as a carnival before leaving. Afghanistan. Qin Xiao silently recited the name of this country in his heart. It seems that the plot is about to begin, and I don't know what kind of tasks the system will give me. How many points can you get? The trip to Afghanistan was a turning point in Tony's life, and it was also the place where Iron Man emerged from his cocoon and became a butterfly. So even during this period, Qin Xiao and Tony got along very well. In the end, Qin Xiao swallowed his words asking Tony to be careful, and instead agreed to go to the cocktail party with him that evening. At this kind of cocktail party, most people have their own small circle, chatting with each other in twos and threes. Apart from being surrounded by beautiful women, Tony rarely has much contact with others. This time he simply pulled Qin Xiao. Tony, I just found out that you are a liar. You told me this was a charity reception, but it turned out to be a celebration party where the military awarded you a patriotic trophy. Look around here. There are bad old men in military uniforms everywhere. Where are the Hollywood stars you're talking about, bastard? Qin Xiao realized that he had been fooled. This was clearly the awards ceremony at the beginning of the Iron Man movie. Relax, maybe I remembered it wrong. I just promised them to be there. I didn't say that I would wait to receive the award. Come with me and take you to the beautiful woman. Just like in the movie, Tony ran directly into the hotel casino. It's just that Tony was followed by a large group of bodyguards in the movie, but now, only Happy is following Tony and Qin Xiao. Come on, take it easy, bring some chips and have some fun. A steady stream of beauties will be around you soon. I can agree to let you pick first, provided they are willing to give up on me. Tony gave Qin Xiao a big push of chips. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes. With your wealth, these girls here are just following me because they are mentally ill. Anyway, the beauty had no chance with him tonight, so Qin Xiao had the idea of helping Tony lose some money. He viciously placed a large pile of chips on number 1 in a roulette betting area. Oh, damn, you've never gambled money. That's right, number 1 is not a wise choice. It's too lonely to be alone, isn't it? If it were me, I would choose no too. Tony Stark's words were picked up by a female voice that Qin Xiao was familiar with. While talking, he reached out and pushed Qin Xiao's chip to the number 2 position. Chapter 9. The plot begins. Black Widow. Today, the widowed sister wore a fake 2-piece dress with a white base and light blue. The slanted skirt was covered with a white gauze that reached the knees. The round and straight thighs are looming. Compared to the time we met at the bar, the clothes this time were much more innocent and playful. But in a casino environment where beautiful women are wearing tank tops and hot pants everywhere. However, the way this outfit is dressed gives people more temptation. To say how tempting it is, just look at Tony Stark next to you. When this guy saw Black Widow coming out, his eyes widened. Hello, although I'm sure you definitely know me, I still want to introduce myself. I'm Tony Stark. Of course, who in this country doesn't know Tony Stark? Natasha Romanoff. Black Widow didn't hide her real name, either because she didn't think it was necessary or because her information was top secret and she wasn't afraid of being found out. Nodding politely towards Tony, Black Widow turned to Qin Xiao and said, "I'm sorry I left early last time at the bar. Today I'll make up for it by gambling with you." "Okay." Qin Xiao unceremoniously reached out and asked the Black Widow to take his arm. Wow! The roulette wheel starts to work. The small iron ball rolled on the roulette wheel several times, and finally slowly stopped on number 2. Tony saw such a rare beauty and ran directly to Qin Xiao. "I originally wanted to say something sour, but I saw that the roulette wheel actually went to number 2. He couldn't help but let out an exclamation. Yes. Tony doesn't care about the money, but there are 38 numbers in the American roulette wheel, and it's really enjoyable to be able to win the pay number all at once. It was obvious that the beauty was here for Qin Xiao. Tony could only turn around and ask happy. "How many chips did I give him just now? It seems to be 180,000, right? He won 6.3 million this time. Damn it, Qin, you should thank this beautiful girl. She has a share of the money here. I paid the principal, half for each person, and give your own share to this girl. Happy, take half of the chips here and follow me." This beauty came here for Qin Xiao. No matter how much Tony liked her, there was no way he would stalk her. He still chose to find another place to be relaxed by himself, but before leaving, he put his head into Qin Xiao's ear and whispered, "Tell me the name of the bar you often go to later, and I'll find you when I come back from Afghanistan." "Tony. Be careful." Qin Xiao still couldn't hold it back and gave Tony an instruction. But it seemed like he didn't take it seriously at all. After sending Tony away, Qin Xiao looked back at the Black Widow beside him. "Don't say that we met by chance tonight, I don't believe it, Miss Romanoff." "Okay, I admit that I came to you specifically, but if there is anything we can talk about later, now you play with me for a while, I have a share of this bargaining chip, as Stark said just now." Black Widow is acting like a bouncing little girl now. He dragged Qin Xiao around the casino and casually placed some bets when he saw the table. But after all, the Black Widow in the movie is only 24 years old now, which is only 2 years older than Qin Xiao's age in this world. Seriously speaking, he can indeed be considered a big kid. I don't know if Black Widow is really prosperous or if they just have good luck together. The two of them just casually placed bets from table to table. He actually collected $4 million with the chips in his hand. When it was time to change the chips, Black Widow said that the money was of no use to her and she didn't want any of it. Qin Xiao didn't care and deposited everything directly into his account. Before going out, I happened to see Tony getting into his car with a female reporter in front of the hotel. Before leaving, he winked at Qin Xiao. "You seem to have a good relationship. As far as I know, being friends with Tony Stark is not an easy thing." The two of them were walking in front of the hotel, and Black Widow was the first to speak. "Really? Maybe the two of us are more comfortable talking, but I think it's harder to let an elite agent lean against me." "How did you tell?" Black Widow wasn't surprised either, she just tilted her head and asked with a smile. "Is it difficult to guess? I went to the back door of the bar in the middle of the night to challenge 3 strong men. They were either killers or agents." "You didn't kill them." Although he knew that Black Widow was an internationally famous agent, Qin Xiao still had the urge to rub her head when looking at her appearance. "Okay, that's right. I'm an agent. You already know my identity. Let me ask you a question this time." The two of them were walking casually on the street, and Black Widow also asked casually. Say it. Qin Xiao pouted, indicating that he didn't care. How did you get the super serum? Was it because of Isaiah? Black Widow didn't intend to hide it, so she went straight to the point. This time it was Qin Xiao who found it unbelievable. How efficient is S.H.I.E.L.D.? They found out so many things just by taking action once. But since the Black Widow is so happy, Qin Xiao doesn't hide it. He directly told Black Widow exactly what happened. In the end, I'm just lucky. Are you approaching me for the super serum? Qin Xiao was a little wary, although for him, the relationship with Isaiah was just a relationship created by the system. But in Isaiah's heart, he really treated him as a child. He didn't want Isaiah to be caught in the laboratory for human experiments again because of him. No, we have no interest in the serum. That thing is too unstable, and no one from us will bother Isaiah. On the contrary, we will secretly clean up some people with evil intentions around him. My target is you. The two of them walked into a park unknowingly. Black Widow let go of Qin Xiao, sat on a bench and said, "Oh." Qin Xiao took advantage of the situation and sat down next to her. "Is it me? So that bullet entered your heart last time. If you ever mention that to me again, I'll make a sandwich out of your head." Black Widow said angrily. "Okay. Okay. I will never mention the bullet I put in your chest again. Now explain what you mean by the target being me, Agent Romanov." Qin Xiao pretended to surrender with his hands raised. Formal introduction: Natasha Romanov, Senior Agent of the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. We are responsible for monitoring all threatening things and individuals in the world. Qin Xiao, do you think I am a threat to this world? Qin Xiao also reintroduced himself. You have strength, speed, and reflexes that exceed the limits of the human body. With a little training, you can become the most powerful killer in the world, assassinating some important figures, or even the president of a country. I believe no one can stop you. You think we're going to turn a blind eye to you? Then what do you want to do? Lock me up? Qin Xiao looked at the Black Widow and said. Of course not. I am only responsible for observation and giving you a risk assessment report. If you have no signs of being antisocial and anti-human, we will not arrest you. Black Widow didn't reveal Nick Fury's Avengers plan herself. But it has come full circle. Then I am a very lustful person. I get dizzy easily when I see beautiful women, especially a beautiful woman like you. Is this considered a threat? Black Widow is very smart, and she was exposed in front of Qin Xiao anyway. Simply identify yourself directly. It was like meeting a new friend, chatting casually with Qin Xiao. She would naturally analyze every word Qin Xiao said and every expression and movement. Eventually it was handed over to Nick Fury. The two of them sat in the park and talked until late at night before leaving. The next day, Qin Xiao received a call from Happy before dinner. Tony Stark disappeared after being attacked by terrorists in Afghanistan. The plot finally started. Qin Xiao asked the system why he couldn't return after completing 2 tasks. The system's answer is that we must wait until Tony Stark transforms into Iron Man and Qin Xiao defeats Iron Overlord with him before he can return to the real world. Although to Qin Xiao, whether it is the real world or the Marvel world, he is just a time traveler. But the real world still feels more practical, and he incorporates the memories of his predecessor. There are still a lot of things waiting for him to deal with in the real world. The premise is to get points so that you can exchange them for a large amount of money. Chapter 10: Embark on the Rescue. As a top agent, Black Widow is quite accurate in judging people, although the two chatted about this and that. But Black Widow knew that Qin Xiao had no interest in joining the Avengers or S.H.I.E.L.D. Everyone knows that too much is as bad as too little. Anyway, Black Widow and Qin Xiao are temporarily friends now, so Nick Fury temporarily looks elsewhere. But only he knows how many spies are secretly watching. As for Tony Stark, he has been missing for almost half a month. The US military and the FBI searched Afghanistan like crazy, but there is still no news. Agent Romanoff, do you miss me? On the 14th day of Tony Stark's disappearance, Qin Xiao received a task from the system. Rescue Tony Stark. Qin Xiao thought that he had to wait until Tony came back, the plot officially began, and then defeat the villain. Unexpectedly, such a task came suddenly. Although Qin Xiao had seen the movie, he was not omniscient, such as the specific location of the cave. The military and the FBI plowed Afghanistan like locusts, but couldn't find a place, let alone Qin Xiao alone. So, Qin Xiao called Black Widow. Compared to the current environment, yes, I miss you. Working with you is like a vacation. Black Widow's voice was loud, accompanied by the sound of gunfire. Are you on a mission? Or we'll talk later. Wait for me. Black Widow said lightly. Qin Xiao listened to all kinds of noises and gunshots coming from the phone. There were also sounds of people groaning and people falling to the ground. Finally, there was a man's long and miserable scream. Then Black Widow answered the phone. What do you want to talk to me about? The scream just now was a bit brainwashing, Qin Xiao couldn't help asking. What did you do to the guy who screamed just now? I stepped on his balls into a burrito. Hiss. Although Qin Xiao said this first, Black Widow said it half-jokingly. Qin Xiao still took a breath of cold air. From the screams of the man just now, Qin Xiao felt that Black Widow was probably not joking. For a moment, he felt a slight pain in his lower body, and he couldn't help but change his sitting position. Then he started to talk about serious matters. Obadiah Stane, the second largest shareholder of Stark Industries, you know, I need some information about him. Are you in Los Angeles? It would be best if we can have a face-to-face meeting. Do you suspect that Stark's disappearance is related to him? Black Widow reacted quickly, hesitated for a moment and immediately asked back. Yes, are you in Los Angeles? I think we should meet, and don't tell anyone yet. Wait for me, I'll be there in 2 hours. Black Widow hung up the phone directly. In fact, Black Widow only took an hour and a half to arrive at Qin Xiao's door. Obviously, S.H.I.E.L.D. is also very concerned about Tony Stark's affairs. Because Black Widow was wearing a black tight combat uniform, she came here without even changing her clothes. Oh! Qin Xiao opened his mouth and blew a whistle. You go out in the street in this outfit in the middle of the night, it's simply an insult to the profession of gangsters. If they don't mind their balls turning into burritos, I welcome it. Black Widow gently pushed Qin Xiao away and sat down on the sofa. Tell me, why do you suspect that guy? Black Widow got straight to the point. First of all, not many people know Tony's plan en route to Afghanistan, except for those around him and the military. Qin Xiao took a bottle of drink from the refrigerator for Black Widow. I believe the military has filtered it internally. Secondly, who is the person who benefits most from Stark's disappearance? He is the only one who meets these two conditions. Isn't it simple? Just watch a suspense movie and you will know. Qin Xiao said exaggeratedly. In fact, it's not that no one has doubted it. It's just that when Tony Stark's father died, it was Obadiah who helped Tony Stark take charge of the entire company against all odds. If he wanted to swallow up the company, it was the best opportunity at that time. So in everyone's eyes, Obadiah is an uncle-like role, helping Tony manage the company. Help him with public relations in times of crisis and clean up the troubles he caused. This partner looks like the greatest wealth that Howard Stark left to his son. Everyone knows this, and Qin Xiao, who has been with Tony for so long, naturally knows it. So he continued. Everyone thinks that Obadiah helped Tony control Stark Industries, but in fact, only Obadiah knows that Tony is a hen that lays golden eggs. He is different from Tony and his father. He is a businessman. He is very good at investing, whether it is investing in Howard or Stark, and now it is time for him to reap the rewards. Qin Xiao's words are very credible. As long as there is a motive, the only one who meets all the conditions at the same time is Obadiah, the big bald head. I admit that what you said makes sense, but this is far from enough. We can't arrest him based on this speculation. I'm not the Minister of Defense. Black Widow made a helpless move. Of course I understand what you mean, but I didn't say I was going to arrest him. I just wanted to find out where Stark was. I just wanted to rescue my friends. If it was really him who did it, he must have contacted the person who kidnapped Tony and would have left some clues. Do you understand what I mean? You must be an expert in this field. Try it. If not, there won't be any trouble. Secretly check some of his private records, such as emails, phone calls, etc. I think this is nothing to you. Secretly investigating a person is nothing to the famous Black Widow. But Stark Industries' internal network gave Black Widow a huge headache. Stark Industries has its own communications satellites and its own independent internal network. All external networks have no problem cutting in, but once data leakage occurs, they will immediately call the police and cut off the network directly. Simple, crude, but very effective. They must be broken through the internal network. Just when Qin Xiao was thinking in his mind whether to ask Happy or Little Pepper for help, Black Widow went out and made a phone call. Okay, let's just wait for the results. Done? Didn't you just say that there is no other way but from within? Are there your people in Stark Industries? Qin Xiao asked in surprise. It's not me, it's us. I asked the director to mobilize our manpower from Stark Industries. There should be news soon. Black Widow said quite confidently. Qin Xiao was no longer calm. What? You informed your director, damn it. Didn't I tell you not to tell anyone? I'm on a mission. I can't just disappear and come thousands of kilometers away to see you. I have to report. Do you understand? Don't worry, we are the largest intelligence agency in the world. Our people have gone through thousands of tests. The one I chose is not only professional, but also reliable. Black Widow said swornly. Qin Xiao rolled his eyes, thinking that you will know what the snake shield is one day. But right now, all we can do is pray that the person in Nick Fury's hands is not from Hydra. Otherwise, God knows how many unexpected troubles will be caused. Chapter 11 Entering Afghanistan. Nick Fury's people acted quickly, and within an hour, a folder arrived in Black Widow's mailbox. Not only did it contain evidence that Obadiah secretly sold weapons to terrorists, but there was also a video sent by the terrorists of Tony Stark being tied to a chair. It seems that you guessed it right. It is indeed related to Obadiah, but it will take a little time to find Tony Stark. When we find Tony Stark's location, we will rescue him as soon as possible. Just wait for my good news. Black Widow looked like she was about to leave after saying that. Qin Xiao quickly grabbed her. I want to go with you. Qin Xiao knew that with the strength of S.H.I.E.L.D., saving people would not be a big problem. But he has a mission, and points are a good thing. No, this is not your job, trust us. Black Widow rejected Qin Xiao. Tony is my friend, and I provided the clues. No matter which way you look at it, I have to go there. Moreover, I am not an ordinary civilian. Qin Xiao looked at the Black Widow without giving in. Suddenly Black Widow's cell phone rang. The call came from Nick Fury, so Black Widow naturally chose to report the situation. To Black Widow's surprise, Nick Fury accepted Qin Xiao's suggestion to go together. But there is a condition, that is, Qin Xiao must join S.H.I.E.L.D. When Qin Xiao was hesitating, the system's voice sounded in his mind. Mission: join S.H.I.E.L.D. and become an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. There are points rewards for tasks, and Qin Xiao will naturally not let them go. But he couldn't help but ask. System, why do you want me to join S.H.I.E.L.D.? Wouldn't it be more free outside? The system's answer is yes. In order to allow the host to better complete some follow-up tasks, don't worry, the host will not be allowed to work for SHIELD all the time. With these words, Qin Xiao felt more at ease. I agreed. I will join SHIELD and you can take me to Afghanistan with you. Qin Xiao was still hesitating a moment ago, but unexpectedly he suddenly agreed. Black Widow was a little confused. Why? Didn't you say you don't want to have too many restrictions? I need a job. Qin Xiao said coquettishly. Black Widow naturally didn't believe this, but if Qin Xiao didn't say anything, there was nothing she could do. All I can say is, okay. Get ready to go to Afghanistan together to complete your first mission, rookie agent. Southern Desert of Afghanistan. A Quinjet flew across the sky and stopped slowly at the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. The rear buttocks slowly opened and a metal ramp was lowered. A Chinese-made civilian off-road vehicle with a Pakistani license plate slowly drove out from the plane. Black Widow and Qin Xiao, dressed as backpackers, sat in the front row of the off-road vehicle. The Black Widow in the driver's seat slowly gestured a thumbs up towards the aircraft. The three nozzles on the Quinjet's tail and wings spurted out blue flames, rising into the sky. Left this place instantly. We already know the place. Shouldn't we board several planes and have a group of special operations personnel come over with live ammunition and fire them, and then directly rescue the people? Qin Xiao made a sudden movement with his hands and asked in confusion. First of all, to do that, we need to do a lot of reconnaissance, including the opponent's numbers, weapons, geographical location, etc. We have to ensure the safety of the hostages. Second, they are not in Afghanistan, but in Pakistan. Although this desert is no man's land, we cannot directly enter their airspace. This is very dangerous. Black Widow said very coolly while driving with one hand. Why? Qin Xiao didn't understand that in the movie, let alone the United States, even the Avengers wanted to go wherever they wanted to go. When had there been any issues with national boundaries? Because behind Pakistan stands an ally called China. There is a saying, don't walk around with weapons around lions. Every country knows that China can leave the whole world, but the whole world cannot leave China. Black Widow said calmly. Qin Xiao understood what Black Widow meant very well. It didn't matter if they drove in a car, but it was different if they drove a fighter jet. And although it was not the same time and space, Qin Xiao still felt a little excited about the country's power. Agencies like SHIELD and their fighter jets don't dare cross Pakistan's borders even a little bit. How afraid of China? Seeing Qin Xiao's proud expression, Black Widow said with a smile. I almost forgot that you are from China, you know? There is also a saying in the intelligence community, whether you are an international spy, agent, or even a mercenary, you should never, ever enter China. Do you know why? Oh, why? Qin Xiao was quite interested. During the Cold War, spies from the Soviet Union and the United States were everywhere in the world, but everyone who entered China mysteriously disappeared. What I know is that the Soviet Union and the United States each sent no less than 3 groups of hundreds of people to enter, and in the end they all lost contact. According to legend, the intelligence agencies of the two countries finally received a note from the relevant Chinese departments, with 4 big characters written on it, no strangers allowed. I used to think it was a legend until I joined the Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency and saw the note with my own eyes. It was simply unbelievable. Black Widow told Qin Xiao something about China, and the vehicle headed south and entered Pakistan. The border between Pakistan and Afghanistan is a huge desert, no man's land. Neither side stationed troops in the desert. But after the Ten Rings terrorists, who claimed to be freedom fighters, kidnapped Tony Stark. Knowing that Afghanistan would be turned upside down by the Americans, they very smartly led people directly into Pakistan. Not only did this avoid the search by the US military, but as long as they were not too close to the edge of the Pakistani desert, no one would enter the desert to search for them. but they never thought that their videos would fall into the hands of S.H.I.E.L.D. They were very careful when sending emails and forwarded them through servers in different countries. Several terrorists in the video also covered their faces, with only their eyes exposed. But with the addition of Afghanistan, this is enough for S.H.I.E.L.D. Chapter 12 Desert Night. After receiving the video, we immediately analyzed the visible range of these masked terrorists, and then used a new identification system to invade the surveillance system of the entire Afghanistan. Whether it is public or private surveillance, or even mobile phones, laptops, tablets, etc., as long as it is connected to the internet, we can capture everything. 2 days ago, we identified several terrorists in the video in a restaurant in this town. The facial features of the 3 people were all more than 85% similar. If nothing else, they should be here. On a dune in the desert, a black widow connects a laptop to a monocular. The car parked on the back of the dune and was covered by the black widow with a yellow desert camouflage car cover. The small town in the distance was still a black dot in Qin Xiao's sight, but after the black widow completed the connection, Qin Xiao noticed that everyone entering and leaving the town would be captured by the telescope's autofocus. The image is then sent directly to the computer, where the computer's software automatically analyzes and identifies it. Are we just going to sit here and stare at the computer? Qin Xiao wiped the sweat from his head. In broad daylight, the high temperature in the desert was indeed quite torturous. If it is recognized, it will automatically call the police. Black Widow stood up and stretched. The devilish figure is fully displayed in this action, especially when paired with her angelic face that is both pure and lustful. I should go to Chinatown first and buy some herbal tea to bring here. Qin Xiao swallowed hard. Black Widow noticed Qin Xiao's eyes and smiled slightly. You go and put up the tent quickly, and I'll put a few small things to help us guard. If we're not lucky, we may have to stay here for a week. Due to national border issues, they cannot directly enter the country on a large scale. The 2 of them could only find the person secretly, and then go to the location to determine the opponent's numbers and weapons, especially the exact location of Tony Stark. Only then can you decide what to do next. Although it might take a week, Qin Xiao had just opened the tent when the computer sounded an alarm. So lucky! Qin Xiao ran to the computer in 3 or 2 steps, although he was not very good at using this software. But there is a close-up shot of an off-road vehicle with 4 people inside. The matching between the eyebrows and eyes of the 2 front ones is 87% and 89%. This fool figured it out. It should be them, let's go. The telescope was always locked on them, and Qin Xiao sorted it out 3 times. The 2 got into the car and followed the car from a distance. We followed him all the way to the west, bumping in the desert for about 3 hours. Only then did they touch their nest. Qin Xiao was extremely lucky to have Black Widow by his side. If he wanted to track a car in the desert, he couldn't get it too close, and he would lose the trace if it was too far away. Because those tire marks will be buried by yellow sand soon. In addition, he is naturally a bit road crazy, so let him be alone in the desert, even with a GPS. Just say that you are looking for someone. If you don't lose yourself, then that's good. After walking all the way and observing with binoculars, the off-road vehicle finally stopped on the back of a sand dune again. The 2 of them lay down on the sand dune and took out their binoculars. Terrorists are really good at picking places. This can be considered the tri-junction of Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. The Marvel Cinematic Universe does not compare with reality. People who are proficient in geography should not criticize it. Geographically, it is a little bit closer to Pakistan, and it is a desert with no people. They didn't know where they found such a sand slope and a small hill with a gravel structure. Several caves were opened in the hill, facing a sandy slope with a crack in the middle. A small canyon-like terrain opened up. If you look at it from a distance on the ground, you can't see anything at all. You have to observe closely at high altitudes. No wonder so many people can't find Tony Stark. Finding the place was just the beginning. In the next 3 days, Black Widow used her actions to let Qin Xiao know what professionalism meant. Judging from the entry and exit of vehicles and the transportation of supplies, it can be estimated that there are approximately 70 to 80 people in this small base. Water, food, and other materials were regularly delivered to a cave from terrorists. It can be roughly judged that not only are the hostages held here, but there is also a high possibility that they are Tony Stark, because they may be making weapons in the cave. What impressed Qin Xiao most was that she could lie on the sand dunes and stare at the terrorist camp with binoculars almost throughout the day. Dig a small sand pit and cover it with a camouflage jacket to protect yourself from the sun, so that you can go without water for a whole day in order to reduce the number of excretions. You know, this is in the desert. Compared to some of the flashbacks in the movie, this made Qin Xiao feel more intuitively how cruel the training she went through was. In order to facilitate observation, they set up a small tent on the back of the dune. Although it was far enough away from the terrorist camp, I still didn't dare to show any firelight at night. The moonlight is good tonight, and I can look at the delicate face of the Black Widow under the moonlight. Qin Xiao felt a little sad for no reason. This girl was only 24 years old. If you had the opportunity to change your life, I mean a normal life, would you accept it? It's rare these days to be alone with this peerless beauty every night. Qin Xiao always teases her when nothing happens, but today he suddenly said this. Black Widow was stunned for a moment, then said with a smile. Impossible, that is impossible for me. I have done many wrong things before, very, very many. For me now, it is more like a kind of forgiveness. I am very glad that I can have such a chance. Black Widow's smile was filled with 3 parts guilt and 1 part shame, and even more unspeakable bitterness. Qin Xiao also suddenly became serious. That's not your fault, Natasha. Remember my words. You are just a sharp sword. You are not the executioner. It is the person who uses the sword who is wrong. There is no right or wrong in the weapon itself. This was the first time Qin Xiao called the Black Widow Natasha, and it was also the first time he said such words of comfort to her so seriously. Natasha was silent for a long time before she said, "Thank you. We are going to prepare for action tonight. Let's go and take a rest first. We have to maintain enough energy. Someone will support us soon. You can keep vigil." After saying that, Natasha turned and entered the tent. I just found out that I actually received a gift, which is a character summoning talisman. I am very grateful to Brother Qin Yu from Ziwa Town. This is the first gift in this book. I didn't expect to receive a gift with such a small number of words. This is an unparalleled encouragement to the author, thank you. Chapter 13 Hawkeye Support. Black Widow said before that due to national border issues, there was no way to enter the country in large numbers to rescue Tony. Qin Xiao thought that a few people would come to deliver some equipment and supplies so that the 2 of them could sneak into the Ten Rings gang's camp. Unexpectedly, S.H.I.E.L.D. directly sent another ace agent, Hawkeye. Eagle Eye appeared in front of Qin Xiao on foot at 1 o'clock in the middle of the night. Just like what he saw in the movie, he wore a black combat uniform, carried a quiver on his back, and held a combination bow in his hand. He was also carrying a bag in his hand, which contained various individual combat weapons. I don't know if it's because the actors in the movie are generally older. All the plot characters Qin Xiao has seen so far look much younger than in the movie. Hawkeye looks to be 30 years old at most, quite energetic, with a cold expression on his face. Clint Barton, Agent Barton, this is Qin Xiao. Black Widow gave the 2 a brief introduction. Natasha told me about you. You were transfused with Isaiah's blood and became a super soldier. You are lucky. Boy. Eagle Eye stretched out his right hand towards Qin Xiao. Call me kid, tell me I'm lucky? Haha. Qin Xiao sneered secretly in his heart and reached out to hold Eagle Eye's right hand. Sure enough, you want to test me. Looking at Eagle Eye's strong arms, Qin Xiao smiled slightly and exerted force on his hands. Hawkeye's expression suddenly changed. As God testifies, Hawkeye was just shaking hands normally. Qin Xiao made up his own mind and directly increased his strength. His current strength is measured in tons. Even if Hawkeye is a top agent, he is still within the range of humans. Hey, Qin, what are you doing? Let go. Fortunately, Natasha pulled Qin Xiao away in time, otherwise Hawkeye wouldn't be able to draw his bow today. How are you? Natasha looked at Hawkeye, who was blushing. Hawkeye said nothing, shook his hand, and moved his palm to indicate that he was fine. What are you doing? Are you crazy? Why are you shaking hands so hard? Natasha questioned. Qin Xiao was also embarrassed. In fact, he knew it as soon as he exerted force. Hawkeye didn't want to test him at all, otherwise there would be no resistance at all. It looked like he was being attacked by surprise. He scratched his head in embarrassment. He explained with an embarrassed look on his face. I thought he was going to test me. It's like that in the movies, and he called me kid and said I was lucky. Qin Xiao's voice became smaller and smaller, and he was really embarrassed. I'm sorry, Agent Patton. Otherwise, if I don't resist, will you pinch me back? Qin Xiao stretched out his right hand. Hawkeye glanced at him and resisted the urge to punch him in the nose. He could tell that this guy was a 100% rookie. You owe me once, remember? After saying that, he turned around and packed up his equipment with a grim look on his face. As soon as he turned around, Hawkeye's face was twisted and he almost burst into tears. There's nothing I can do, it hurts too much when my hand bones are pinched. There was a brief interlude, and we were no longer acquainted with Hawkeye. 4 o'clock in the morning is said to be the time when humans sleep the deepest at night. A figure slowly sneaked into the vicinity of the Ten Rings gang camp. I've reached the designated location. Over. Qin Xiao was lying less than 20 meters away from the camp, wearing night vision goggles as big as ordinary sunglasses on his eyes. Said softly. Copy that. Don't move yet. Pay attention to the camp and follow the instructions. Also, don't say over. This is not a movie, rookie. Hawkeye's voice came from the earphones. On a small sand hill less than 100 meters away from the camp. After Hawkeye finished speaking, he turned off the voice, picked up a bow and arrow and pointed it at the camp. Compare? The old rules. Next to him was the Black Widow holding a sniper rifle equipped with a silencer. Okay. I never thought I would have the opportunity to fight side by side with you in the desert. It seems that Nick really values Tony Stark. Black Widow is carefully observing the distribution of sentries in the camp through the telescope in the sniper rifle. It's not that we value Stark, but that we value this kid Qin. This is obviously asking us to bring in a rookie. As he spoke, Hawkeye adjusted the small monocular sight on one eye. I guess this is his standard equipment for using bows and arrows at long distances. I count to 3, let's start together, 1, 2, 3. Whoosh! Whizzing! Since Qin Xiao absorbed the super serum, his physical senses have become stronger than those of ordinary people. He heard the sound of bows and arrows whizzing through the air. As the sound rang out, I watched the sentries in the camp in front fall to the ground one after another. Some were stabbed directly in the throat by bows and arrows, while others had a hole directly opened in their foreheads. Black Widow and Hawkeye should have taken action together. In less than 2 seconds, all 7 or 8 sentries, both overt and covert, fell to the ground. Then, there was a sound of footsteps behind him. Hawkeye ran quickly from behind. As soon as he arrived at Qin Xiao's side, Eagle Eye immediately fired his bow and knocked an arrow, staring intently in the direction of the camp. Then Qin Xiao saw the Black Widow running towards this side from the small sand dune like a flowing stream. At this point, without saying a word, he directly pointed his gun at the camp. I'll go to the cave on the left. If anyone comes out, I'll be there to hold them back. Stark should be on the right. I'll leave it to you. Is there any problem? Hawkeye glanced at Qin Xiao and said. Qin Xiao made an okay gesture. Go. Hawkeye said, and Qin Xiao jumped up from the ground. This shows how cost-effective the elementary fighting skills are. Not only fighting skills, but also the understanding of firearms, and even the task of rescuing hostages. Although it was Qin Xiao's first time, he looked like a trained person when running and walking. He didn't look like a novice at all. Hawkeye secretly gave Black Widow a thumbs up. An expert knows the doorway. Be as fast as possible, avoid obstacles, and pay attention to enemies that may appear at any time in front. You can tell whether he is a veteran or not at once. This guy is not bad. Hawkeye threw down a sentence and followed closely behind, running towards the camp. I don't know if it's because they are tight outside and loose inside, or they are confident in the position they chose. There were no guards in the cave, only 2 guards at the innermost gate. But at this time, they all fell asleep leaning against the big iron gate. Qin Xiao hesitated for a moment, pulled out the pistol with a silencer and shot each of them. It was the first time to kill someone. Qin Xiao originally wanted to use a knife, but after thinking about it, it would be better to use a pistol. I don't know if it was because of the pistol or because he was in a hurry to save people. Killing people with a pistol at a distance of several meters did not make Qin Xiao feel uncomfortable. Chapter 14 Rescue Successful. He took the key from the guard and gently opened the iron door. The first thing you see is a large workbench with randomly arranged wood. It was littered with various tools and metals. This kind of environment can create a small arc reactor and a suit of armor that transcends technology. He is truly worthy of being called the Iron Man, who is as good as a god in a mortal body. Qin Xiao praised. Looking inside the cave, 2 simple camp beds were placed on the far right side of the cave. 2 people were lying on the camp bed covered with 2 colorless blankets. One was Dr. Ethan, who briefly appeared in the movie. The other was Tony Stark, who had transformed into Iron Man. Qin Xiao could see the faint blue light emitting from the arc reactor under the blanket. After all, after hanging out together for such a long time, Qin Xiao still had a certain foundation of friendship with Tony. Tony Stark, who is usually well dressed, now looks disheveled. With a little bit of sadness, Qin Xiao gently lifted Tony's blanket. Snapped. Just for a moment, Tony opened his eyes suddenly, and one hand had already grasped Qin Xiao's wrist. Well, as your coach, should I praise you for your good study? Tony Stark's eyes froze, and he suddenly burst into surprise. Qin Xiao didn't care what to say, quickly stood up and turned around, tightly covering Ethan's mouth that was about to open. Shut up! Don't scream if you want to live. I'm Tony's friend. Having woken up Ethan just now, this guy's first reaction was to open his mouth and scream. Fortunately, Qin Xiao's reaction was quick enough. God, I never knew I was so happy to see you. Why are you here? Tony lowered his voice and said in surprise. Believe it or not, I said I'm here to wait for the next subway. Nonsense, of course I'm here to save you, friend. Also, don't come close to me. I don't want to hug you. Damn it. Tony, you don't know what's going on with you. How stinky it smells. After struggling to break away from Tony's embrace, Qin Xiao couldn't help but dust himself off. He lowered his voice and said, the people outside have been dealt with. Now keep your voice down and follow me. At this time, Hawkeye's urging voice also came from the earphones. Qin, you need to speed up. There is a monitoring room here, which is aimed at you. I have already dealt with a bastard who got up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet. It won't take long. Come on, there's no time. Qin Xiao said anxiously to the 2 of them. Although Tony was surprised who came with Qin Xiao, he also knew that now was not the time to talk nonsense. He stood up and went to the workbench to pick up a stack of drawings and followed Qin Xiao without hesitation. When Qin Xiao came out with 2 people, Black Widow had already begun to place some small bombs around. Hawkeye was notified to evacuate, and several people climbed up to the side of the cave. Black Widow scanned the canyon filled with arms and said, "You go get the car, I'll be here to guard it. If they come out, I'll give them a free firework." Black Widow said, holding a small remote control that detonated in her hand. The situation was urgent just now, and it was dark, so Tony couldn't see the faces of Hawkeye and Black Widow clearly. Now I heard Black Widow talking and saw her appearance clearly. "It's you." It seems Black Widow made a lasting impression on Tony at the casino. But Tony was wise enough not to ask any more questions at this time. Instead, he said to the Black Widow with a serious face, "I want to stay with you. The missile rifles and so on below are all Stark Industries weapons. I don't know why they are here, but I want to destroy them myself." Qin Xiao was the one who understood Tony's current mood best among the group, and he didn't wait for anyone else to speak. He took the words directly and said, "That's it. I've decided to stay and protect them. Ethan will drive with Agent Patton." Hawkeye glanced at Qin Xiao and Tony, said nothing, stretched out his hand to greet Ethan, and turned around to leave. The three people found a hidden place and lay down. By now it was starting to get dark. Qin Xiao looked at Tony's glowing arc reactor and said, "The tattoo is nice and it can shine. Go back and get one for me too." Tony smiled sadly. He pulled off his clothes directly, revealing the reactor inside. "This thing is an electromagnet, and there are a bunch of small shrapnel inside that are heading towards my heart all the time. I swear, you won't like this feeling." Not to mention the Black Widow, even Qin Xiao, who knew the inside story, saw a person with such a large piece of metal embedded in his chest. They couldn't help but be speechless. "At least you don't have to turn on the lamp when you go to the bathroom at night." Qin Xiao didn't know how to comfort him, so he could only pat his shoulder and said. As soon as he finished speaking, he heard a burst of noise coming from the camp below. "Stop talking, they found out." Black Widow said that, and the three of them looked at the camp without saying anything. A large group of disheveled terrorists came out of the cave on the left, holding various rifles in their hands and started shouting at the surroundings. Black Widow handed the remote-controlled detonator to Tony. "Wait a moment, wait until more of them come out." Tony said nothing, took the detonator and held it tightly in his hand. Obviously, the experience during this period still had a certain psychological shadow on him. After a short while, a bald man had already rushed out angrily with others. After watching the surveillance, he reluctantly entered the cave where Tony was imprisoned again. It took more than a minute before he came out of the cave. He stood at the entrance of the cave and shouted some kind of order to the people below. "It's now," Black Widow said. Almost as soon as the words rang out, Tony forcefully pressed the switch of the detonator. Bang! Boom! Boom! The small bombs left behind by the Black Widow exploded almost simultaneously. Then a large number of missiles on the ground were detonated, as well as grenades, bullets, and other munitions. The violent explosion made the three people hundreds of meters away feel the ground shaking. Countless bullets were activated by the explosion, scattered and exploded in mid-air. It really seemed like a large fireworks show was set off. At this moment, the sound of a car engine also sounded behind the three of them. Hawkeye watched an off-road vehicle speeding towards him from a distance. "Get in the car quickly. The explosion will attract the attention of the local military and government. Don't cause unnecessary trouble. Let's leave quickly." Hawkeye waved to everyone. Tony took a deep look at this place, turned around and followed Qin Xiao into the car. No one noticed that the leader was a strong man with a bald head. The moment he exploded, he was blown away by the shock wave into the cave. Although he was injured, he managed to escape the frontal explosion. When everyone left, he slowly climbed out of the cave and looked at the dust as everyone drove away. He reached into his pants and pulled out a satellite phone. Chapter 15 Pursuit. From here, head northwest. In half an hour, we will enter Afghanistan. We will be safe then. After driving for more than an hour, Hawkeye stopped the car, looked at the direction, and checked the GPS again. It seems that we... Boom! Black Widow's words were interrupted by an explosion. A violent explosion broke out on the ground less than 3 meters to the left of the off-road vehicle. A large amount of yellow sand was brought into the sky by the explosion. Left. Hawkeye said, turning the steering wheel violently. Black Widow picked up a telescope and looked to the left. Go. 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 Damn it. Black Widow's face changed drastically, and she said to Hawkeye anxiously. Hawkeye didn't waste any words, and stepped on the accelerator directly, and the engine of the vehicle burst into a piercing roar. No longer caring about the direction, he rushed to the right. Qin Xiao was sharp-eyed and could see a figure in the distance holding an iron pipe in his hand. It should be a single-soldier rocket launcher, and the explosion just now came from it. Of course, a rocket launcher can't threaten this group of people. The scary thing is that behind this person holding the rocket launcher, more than a dozen off-road vehicles drove up from the back of the sand dune one after another. Damn it, how can they come so fast, and there are so many people, hold on tight, there is no insurance if you fall out of the car now. The chasing vehicles are all open-top off-road vehicles, and there is a terrorist carrying a rocket launcher standing in almost every car. They started bombarding the vehicles here. Hawkeye's steering wheel almost instantly hit the left side, and the next moment it hit the right side. The vehicle twisted like a snake, bumping in the desert. With the occasional explosions around him and the yellow sand all over the sky, Qin Xiao suddenly felt that it seemed like a spy movie now. They came from the north. The Afghan border is not safe. Contact our people and notify the military to deal with it. Hurry up. Hawkeye drove the car and yelled at Black Widow. I'm already on the phone, damn bastard. Black Widow was holding the phone in one hand when gunshots rang out behind her. A bullet almost grazed her arm and smashed the rear-view mirror of the vehicle into pieces. Da-da-da-da-da. I don't know if their rocket launchers have run out or the hit rate of that thing is too low. They all set up machine guns on the jeep. The people in the car couldn't even raise their heads. The clanking sound of bullets hitting the car body never stopped. The opponents used heavy machine guns, and the rebounding cars couldn't stand such a style of attack. Hawkeye was driving the car and took the time to look back at Qin Xiao, Tony, and the other 3 people. He sighed and said to Black Widow, "You drive, we must fight back." After that, regardless of Black Widow's reaction, he stood up and jumped between the 2 front seats. Almost as soon as Hawkeye's voice sounded, Natasha grabbed the steering wheel and moved over with her 2 thighs. "It's our turn now, bastards." Hawkeye drew his bow and shot, no matter how the car bumped. His upper body was almost motionless. Whoosh! An arrow shot out. Qin Xiao saw a huge flame coming out of the car closest to them. Hawkeye took away a car with an explosive arrow. The rear window had been beaten into a spider web. "Lower your head!" Qin Xiao shouted at Tony and Ethan, and punched the glass. He raised a rifle and aimed at the back and started shooting. Qin Xiao's shooting skills were average, and it was even more difficult to hit the target in this situation. However, he was not afraid of wasting bullets, and he directly used the automatic mode to shoot one volley after another. It disturbed many of the opponent's machine gunners, at least they didn't dare to stand and shoot so carelessly. Whoosh! Hawkeye, who aimed for a moment, shot another arrow. Another car turned into a fireball. Whoosh! Another one. Yes. Well done, man. Watching Hawkeye sit down after shooting an arrow, Qin Xiao took the time to praise him. Qin Xiao's interference, plus Hawkeye's 3 arrows knocked down 3 cars. The other side's vehicles began to control the distance and dared not press so closely. Their pressure was instantly reduced a lot. "They are a little far away," I said. "You keep going, Cupid," keep going a few more times, there will be 5 or 6 cars in total. Qin Xiao said to Hawkeye, who was sitting down. I want to continue, but I don't have explosive arrows anymore, and I'm Hawkeye, not Cupid, rookie. What do you mean there are no explosive arrows? The other side is a group of terrorists. We are here to fight. Can't you bring more equipment? Qin Xiao shouted. We are here to save people, not to fight, rookie. Hawkeye said while checking his quiver. I know you are here to save me, but can you give me a gun too, Mongolian warrior? It's not my style to get beaten without fighting back. Tony suddenly interrupted. Damn it. My fucking name is Hawkeye, don't give people random names. Besides, who said I can't do anything without explosive arrows? As soon as he finished speaking, Hawkeye stood up instantly and took aim briefly. Unexpectedly, 2 arrows were shot one after another. One arrow directly hit a machine gunner in the head, and the other arrow directly passed through the windshield, killing the driver directly. The car lurched violently and overturned directly on the desert. You see, rookie, and you, millionaire, professional things should be done by professionals. Qin Xiao and Tony looked at each other, and Qin Xiao shrugged. You're right about shooting accurately, but why don't you kill the 2 drivers with 2 arrows, so that they can overturn the 2 cars? Tony, I think Qin is right. Ethan, yes. Eagle Eye. After all the trouble, there were only 2 off-road vehicles left on the opposite side, and there was almost no pressure anymore. Everyone felt more relaxed, just waiting for Hawkeye to get up and shoot 1 arrow at a time. Hawkeye lived up to expectations, got up and killed one of them cleanly. Wait until you get up again. Boom. Almost as soon as he stood up, Hawkeye fell down. A bullet was firmly embedded in the right chest of Hawkeye's body armor. Damn! There's someone else. Hawkeye's words seemed to be the clarion call for the enemy to attack. On the sand dune ahead on the left, almost 20 off-road vehicles suddenly appeared. In an instant, there was a volley of gunshots. A large number of bullets caused a barrage of yellow sand on the left and front of the vehicle. It almost formed several ballistic lines of death. If the car hadn't happened to hit a sand dune and dodge, the car would have been totaled in an instant. This is not the way to go. Can we get people from the military to come directly? Taking advantage of the dunes blocking his view, Tony asked. Now we are in trouble. Even if they come directly, it will be difficult for us to survive this period of time. Fortunately, there are many sand dunes ahead. Let's climb over them one by one to see if we have a chance to get rid of them. Hawkeye pointed to the sand dunes in front of him and said. Qin Xiao glanced at the continuous sand dunes in front of him. There were so many pursuers behind him, and it was impossible to get rid of them just by relying on these few sand dunes. There is definitely not enough time to wait for support. I remember there were 2 big guys in the car and I had a plan. Qin Xiao said quietly. Chapter 16 Breaking Off Alone. The Ten Rings gang doesn't appear much in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At least that was the case until Qin Xiao traveled through time. As for the comics, Qin Xiao's understanding was limited to the Mandarin and the Ring. But now it seems that the Ten Rings gang should be very powerful in the Middle East. At least this is the case in the Asian region of the Middle East. How far is it from the desert camp where Tony was rescued to Afghanistan? Along the way, he was chased by 6 heavily armed off-road vehicles. And now, it is surrounded by nearly 20 off-road vehicles. Even if there are 2 top agents in the car plus Qin Xiao, a super soldier. Still, he was immediately overwhelmed by the opponent's powerful firepower and couldn't lift his head. Let alone a counterattack, in this case they won't be able to go very far before being shot to pieces by a heavy machine gun. When they arrived, in order to prevent accidents and block the pursuing troops, their vehicles were equipped with 2 6-barreled Gatling heavy machine guns. When the car crossed 3 sand dunes in a row, Qin Xiao shouted to stop the car. He jumped out of the car with a Gatling in his arms. There were 2 Gatlings, Qin Xiao held one in his hand, and Tony on the side set one up on the ground. Hawkeye is still holding a bow and arrow, while Black Widow and Ethan are holding an automatic rifle. After passing these sand dunes, they can disperse and chase us. This is the last chance. Qin Xiao also lay on the back of the sand dune, raised his head and looked at the other side and said, "The terrain here can indeed block the other side for a while, but we can't stop them for long. There are too many people on the other side, and our ammunition can't support them for more than a few minutes." Hawkeye quickly glanced at the ammunition and firearms and said, "A few minutes is enough. Just ask them to stop first." Qin Xiao stared at the sand dune on the opposite side, waiting for all their cars to cross the dune on the opposite side. Entering the natural basin between the 2 sand dunes, that's when they were blocked in place. "But..." Natasha took the words, but before she could finish speaking, the roar of vehicles came from the opposite side. One after another, off-road vehicles jumped out of the sand dunes and drove rapidly downhill towards this direction. "Prepare." Qin Xiao watched intently as the vehicle on the opposite side slowly appeared in his sight. "Wait until most of the vehicles on the opposite side have entered the lowest basin. It's now." Qin Xiao took the lead in shooting, although everyone didn't know what Qin Xiao's plan was. But he still shot directly according to Qin Xiao's plan. 2 Gatlings, 2 automatic rifles. Directly interweaving a barrage of death. Combined with the help of Hawkeye, he can knock out several drivers with 1 or 2 arrows. The off-road vehicles in the basin also reacted one after another. Several cars formed a straight line, and a few more cars were added behind them, lining up one after another. The terrorists on the opposite side could only hide behind 2 vehicles and fire back. Gatling's firepower was too powerful, and 1 car wasn't enough to keep them safe. "Okay. Cease fire." Seeing that the other side had formed a formation directly on the spot, Qin Xiao stretched out his hand to ask everyone to stop firing. "Barton, whenever someone wants to drive on the other side, shoot an arrow to kill the driver. If they don't move, don't move. There are only 5 people here, hiding behind the dunes, changing positions from time to time to take a look. As long as someone moves on the opposite side, Hawkeye will shoot an arrow. If there are several people moving on the other side, or driving." Several guns here immediately exchanged firepower. As expected, the enemy was pinned to the spot. "Is this your plan? We're running out of ammunition, what's next?" Black Widow said as she changed a magazine. "Then it's time to watch my performance. Leave some supplies for me. When they move, we'll start another round. You leave immediately." Qin Xiao looked at the people below and said lightly. "No, what should you do?" Tony was the first to jump out an object. Qin Xiao came to save him, leaving him alone in the desert, which Tony couldn't do. "He doesn't know, but you should know that if you go first, I have a better chance of surviving alone. This place is not far from Afghanistan. If you go faster, I can definitely wait for support." Qin Xiao looked at Black Widow and Hawkeye and said. Black Widow and Hawkeye looked at each other and realized that this was indeed the best solution at the moment. Dragging the opponent here, let alone the issue of ammunition, the key point is that no one knows which side's reinforcements will come first. They still have too many people. If someone comes from the opposite side, they will directly attack from another direction. Then they can only be surrounded alive by the enemy. "No, I object, we must have other ways." Tony saw that Hawkeye and Black Widow were actually a little moved, and quickly objected loudly. "Tony, listen to me, look here." Qin Xiao raised his fingers towards Tony. As soon as Tony's eyes came over, Qin Xiao reached out with a knife and slashed at the back of Tony's neck. "Damn it, why did you hit me?" Tony asked, covering his face. Qin Xiao was a little embarrassed. He was afraid that he would hit Tony too hard and hurt Tony, so he didn't dare to use force. As a result, he was embarrassed. "That Qin Xiao scratched his head, but unexpectedly Hawkeye got up and slashed Tony on the back of the neck with his knife. Tony groaned and fell to the ground. What about you? Do you want to follow or be knocked unconscious by me? Qin Xiao glanced sideways at Ethan. I'm going with them, I'm obedient. Ethan raised his hands in cooperation. Just now he saw them slashing Tony and he fainted after 2 hits. It hurt just to look at it. It must be swelling. Ethan thought weakly in his heart. At this moment, 2 cars on the opposite side wanted to drive in another direction and then circle back. The 2 Gatlings turned hard and forced the car back to where it was. He even had Hawkeye kill the driver of a car with 1 arrow. It's time to leave now, hurry up. Hawkeye didn't say anything, and leaned over to pick up Tony who fainted. The Black Widow looked at Qin Xiao worriedly. With the look in your eyes, you don't want to confess to me now. For the sake of God, you should leave quickly and bring reinforcements to find me. Hurry up! Qin Xiao said fiercely, and also gave the Black Widow a slap on her ass. This time the Black Widow was not angry, but gave Qin Xiao a roll of her eyes. If you can't stand it, don't hold on. Fight guerrilla warfare with them, and we will find you. Qin Xiao nodded heavily. Later, this group of cross-country convoys came directly from the desert in Iran. The leader was a fat man with a beard. In the sudden attack over the sand dunes just now, he was also the one who commanded the convoy to surround a temporary fortress. Although the firepower from the opposite side was fierce, the fat man was not worried at all. Because of the large number of people, it is impossible for the other side to bring too much ammunition. This is a desert, their territory, and they will be exhausted to death. But Fatty didn't feel sure if it took too long, so he wanted the 2 cars to try to break through first. As a result, as soon as the car started, Gatling bullets came roaring from the opposite side. And that terrifying bow and arrow, which can take someone away with just 1 arrow. Damn it! This is not the way to go. If it continues like this, it's time for the US military to take action. The bearded man patted the sand on the ground anxiously. As a result, he sent 2 men to try to get around, but he was either forced back by a hail of bullets, or was shot to death by an arrow from Hawkeye. Chapter 17 The Breakout of the 10 Commandments Gang. There was no way to go on like this, so Big Beard once again designated a smarter terrorist. You drive around east, put your head down, look in the right direction and step on the accelerator, you don't have to look at the road. After the unlucky guy got in the car and got ready, the bearded man called another subordinate and got in the car to get ready. Following the bearded man's order, the first buddy stepped on the accelerator, and the vehicle sped towards the east. As for Qin Xiao, after all the trouble just now, everyone else had already left. Qin Xiao was the only one left to break up the rear. He saw an off-road vehicle on the other side speeding towards his right. Unexpectedly, the other party would test again so quickly, Qin Xiao cursed secretly. Accept your fate and pick up the sniper rifle to target the opponent's vehicle. I can't believe I can't hit a tire if I can't hit someone. Qin Xiao muttered while aiming at the opponent's front wheel. Boom! There was a gunshot. Even though the other person was driving with his head lowered, Qin Xiao still saw a cloud of blood mist exploding from the driver's neck through the scope. The vehicle lost control and fell to the ground. Is this okay? Qin Xiao was stunned to see that his shot aimed at the tire took away the driver, and he had to admire his good luck. After being happy for only a second, Qin Xiao secretly said something bad. It turned out that just as he was aiming and shooting, another car rushed out from the opposite direction. Qin Xiao didn't think he could have good luck twice in a row. He threw the sniper rifle away and actually held 2 Gatlings standing on the ground, 1 in each hand. Da-da-da-da-da. 2 crazy tongues of fire spit out, and the bullets almost connected in a line. 2 tongues of flame intertwined in midair and directly caught up with the off-road vehicle. Under such abnormal firepower, the off-road vehicle could not survive for 2 seconds. It was torn into pieces and then exploded into a big fireball. Qin Xiao immediately turned his gun and charged directly towards their temporary position. This is Qin Xiao's warning. Don't move. If you move, you will suddenly die. Of course, the main reason is that Qin Xiao discovered that there are not many bullets left, and all he can do now is to hold off as long as he can. The bearded man naturally received the warning, and this time they were silent for about 10 minutes. In fact, Big Beard directly dispersed the vehicles to chase and intercept him from the beginning, which would make Qin Xiao and the others very uncomfortable. If you don't get it right, you will have to overturn the situation. Even if you win in the end, there is no guarantee that there will be no casualties. However, the factions within the Ten Rings gang are complicated. This matter was originally a private job undertaken by the bald man. The bearded man only took action after receiving his call for help. From the beginning, he had no intention of causing more casualties to his men because of this matter. I originally planned to chase and intercept them, catch up if I could, and pull them down if I couldn't. But even though he was beaten to death, he never expected that Qin Xiao and others would dare to stop their counterattack, and the firepower would still be so fierce. Many of his men died, and the bearded man began to get angry. Just when the bearded man secretly regretted taking this trip, his satellite phone rang. Damn it, you didn't tell me how ferocious these people were. Who exactly were you asking me to hunt down? Many of my men died. You must make it up to me. As soon as he opened his mouth, the bearded man began to complain, emphasizing his losses. He knew that Baldhead had private dealings with some major arms dealers in the United States. He wanted to stress his losses so that he could ask Baldhead for more supplies or other compensation afterwards. But the Baldhead's next words immediately made the bearded man go berserk. What? Tony Stark, I should have thought of this, damn it! Damn it! You should have told me from the beginning. Attack! Get everyone on board, spread out and surround the sand dune in front, everyone get on board. Quick, quick, quick! The bearded man hung up the phone and finally began to attack with all his strength. If he gets serious here, Qin Xiao can't stand it alone. As soon as more than a dozen cars scattered in all directions, Qin Xiao was dumbfounded on the spot. He could only use the 2 Gatling guns with the strongest firepower to aim hard at the 2 cars in front. Finally, the 2 vehicles were completely scrapped, and one of the Gatlings also stalled and was out of ammunition. The other ammunition was also low. Looking at the off-road vehicles of the Ten Rings gang, most of them have already driven up the surrounding sand dunes, and some have even disappeared. Qin Xiao pointed directly at the nearest off-road vehicle within his reach and flashed the remaining Gatling ammunition. Without even seeing what happened, he threw the gun on the ground. He moved a few steps to the side, fearing that there was still someone hiding underneath, so he was stuck in a blind spot in his sight. Using his own powerful strength, he dug a small sand pit on the ground. He buried his whole body directly inside. He pulled off the gauze scarf around his neck and covered his face directly. This would not only prevent sand from entering his mouth and nose, but also block the reflection on his sunglasses. Covering his face with a thin layer of sand, he burrowed under the sand with his arms. Shake the yellow sand above and bury yourself as much as possible. The surface may look a little uneven, but that's all it can do now. I just hope they don't notice this in the first place. As soon as I finished all this, I heard the sound of a car engine. From the sound, it should be that 2 cars arrived at the same time. And it was just 2 or 3 meters away from him. Just as Qin Xiao imagined, the first thing they paid attention to was definitely the place where Qin Xiao and the others dropped their firearms. Sure enough, after parking the car, I heard their chirping voices, probably using their walkie-talkies to report that no one was here. After waiting patiently for the enemy to finish speaking, and waiting for about 10 seconds, Qin Xiao jumped up from the sand pit. Bringing up a large cloud of yellow sand, the man was in mid-air. With a flick of his right hand, a black sword light flashed across him. The head of the terrorist closest to Qin Xiao rose into the sky. Never give them a chance to shoot. With this idea in mind, Qin Xiao fired the pistol with a silencer in his left hand in mid-air. From sudden jump to fall, before the enemy can react. 1 knife, 3 shots, and 4 enemies were eliminated in one go. There were 2 left. In order to save time, Qin Xiao just landed. Another shot was fired, and the Tang Dao was thrown directly towards the enemy with the other hand. The shot was slightly off target and hit the enemy in the neck. Fortunately, he was killed on the spot, and the Tang knife was thrown out by Qin Xiao's huge power and was directly inserted into the forehead of the last person, sinking into the hilt. Hey! Qin Xiao exhaled heavily. 6 people, except that they are accurate, fast and sudden. It's also because these people didn't see the enemy when they arrived, they put down their weapons, and the surroundings were in plain sight. It can only be said that the time, place, and people are favorable, otherwise there is no problem in killing people, as long as they fire a shot. You know, no one around you has gone far yet. Just as Qin Xiao thought, these 2 cars arrived here first. After using the walkie-talkie to report to Big Beard immediately led his men in pursuit in the northwest direction. Chapter 18 Mission completed. You must know that this place is very close to the border, and there is a US military base on the other side of Afghanistan. He did not believe that a big man like Tony Stark would not have military support. As long as they reached the border, it meant that they would lose Tony Stark, the mobile super arsenal, forever. So when I heard that there was no one here, my first reaction was that they would start to retreat as soon as I dispatched. He quickly ordered everyone to pursue them in the northwest direction. Looking at Qin Xiao again, he had been delayed for more than 10 minutes. He really wanted to call Tony and ask if they were out of danger. Helplessly, the satellite phone left by Black Widow was hit by a bullet at some point on the ground. It should be that the 2 cars in front of them fired a few sparse shots in this direction just now. What a bad luck! Qin Xiao gritted his teeth, sent Buddha to the west, got into an off-road vehicle, and chased towards the northwest at full power. Let's look at Big Beard's side first, and received the report from his subordinates. A group of vehicles sped toward the northwest. After 4 or 5 minutes of driving, Bearded's phone rang again. I don't know who called this time. The bearded man looked serious after answering the call. Said directly on the intercom. Retreat, the target has been picked up by the US military, retreat immediately. In the desert, more than a dozen vehicles turned around at the same time and began to retreat towards the path they came from. As for Qin Xiao, although he heard the words on the car intercom, but they use some Arabic language. Qin Xiao couldn't understand a single word. Fortunately, the system prompts sounded in time. Congratulations to the host, the mission of saving Tony Stark has been completed, and the reward points are 1,000. Congratulations to the host. I made friends with the first-generation Avenger Hawkeye and left a deep impression on him. I earned 500 points. Congratulations to the host, Black Widow's favor with you has been greatly improved, and you have gained 200 points. Congratulations to the host, Iron Man's favor with you has been greatly improved, and you have gained 200 points. Congratulations to the host, Hawkeye's favor with you has been greatly improved and he has gained 100 points. The prompts sounded one after another, and the task was completed. Unexpectedly, if you get closer to the key person, you will get points. It should be regarded as a hidden reward. This can be regarded as living and dying together. Sure enough, the favorability level will increase quickly like this. I just don't know why Hawkeye is only 100. Is it because he is not as familiar with the two of them or because Hawkeye's own presence is relatively weak? But now Qin Xiao has no time to think so much, because the task has been completed, and there is no need to chase the people from the Ten Rings gang. If you move forward, you may still meet them, although Qin Xiao is now a super soldier and wearing protective clothing produced by the system. But he is not immortal. If his head is hit by a large caliber bullet or a large thermal weapon, such as a few rockets, Qin Xiao will not be able to bear it. It's okay to go all out, but it's a waste of unnecessary risks. There was no other way but to avoid them first and wait for Tony's rescue. It would be great if the satellite phone hadn't been smashed. After thinking for a moment, Qin Xiao immediately turned around and drove in the direction he came from. On the other side, the bearded man who had already begun to retreat began to think more and more something was wrong. Because the number of vehicles didn't match up, I clearly looked at the number when I first started. Finally, I made a special observation and found that except for the 2 vehicles on the front that were blown up, there should be no casualties afterwards. But if they were hit from the front, how did they escape from their blockade? After an unreasonable pursuit for a long time, he was directly rescued by people from the US military. If you are such a person, you should also meet Americans. The more I thought about it, the more something was wrong, combined with the sharp archer in the opponent's team at the beginning. The last wave seemed to contain only gunshots, and the archer was never seen coming out again. Wrong. They were fooled, they kept someone as a heir. Otherwise, the number of vehicles would not match up, and the 2 vehicles that passed by might have been attacked by them. Damn it! So many men died, so much effort was expended, and nothing was gained. He was actually treated as a fool. The bearded man became more and more angry as he thought about it, so he directly picked up the walkie-talkie and gave orders to his men. Qin Xiao had no idea that Big Beard had started chasing him in this desert. I just took a risk-averse attitude and headed in the direction I came from. In Qin Xiao's view, no matter when the support arrives, it is the insurance period. I still went all the way back, and when I was almost done, I headed south towards Pakistan. As long as you enter a Pakistani city, you will be completely safe. But Qin Xiao ignored one thing. The bald man who kidnapped Tony had his camp in Pakistan. Although that camp has been destroyed by them, Baldhead is still alive and he is not alone in this group around here. Qin Xiao didn't know this, including the various chaotic forces in the Shiji gang. He only knew that the mission had been completed. So many extra points were gained in vain, and the total points were calculated to be 3,000. There are only 2,000 points left before the opening of the secondary mall. The car had plenty of fuel, and he also found a pack of cigarettes in it. He was happily driving towards the south with the cigarette in his mouth. As I was walking along, I suddenly found a small black spot in front of me. It seems to be a person. Naturally, one person did not pose much of a threat to Qin Xiao, so Qin Xiao carelessly drove towards this person. Who knew that this man heard the sound of the car's engine and actually turned around and made a hitchhiking gesture towards Qin Xiao? If you are brave enough, you dare to stop a car that is obviously a militant in such a chaotic place. Qin Xiao took a look at the heavy machine gun mounted on the carriage, and couldn't help but admire the man's big heart. Thinking about the vast desert, the pursuers behind may not be able to catch up with him. And if this person is left here, if the terrorists behind see him, they will inevitably kill civilians to vent their anger. With the idea of doing good deeds every day, Qin Xiao swung the off-road vehicle with a handsome dragon's tail. Stopped beside the traveler. "How's it going? Want a ride?" The traveler was wearing baggy suit pants and a blue shirt with sleeves rolled up on both sides. A dirty gauze scarf was wrapped around his face to protect him from the wind and sand, and he looked very lonely. Seeing Qin Xiao parking the car, the man was very happy and pulled off the gauze scarf. "Can you take me to the nearest town?" "Thank you." This man showed a simple and honest smile, and Qin Xiao. When he saw the man's face clearly, he looked like he had seen a ghost. "It's you." Chapter 19 Encounter with the Hulk. When Tony Stark woke up, he was already lying in the US military base. When he opened his eyes, he saw the familiar face of Rhodes. "How do you feel about the happy Hummer, Tony? Remember to ride with me next time, okay?" Rhodes said with a smile. God knows how much pressure he has been under this month. Rod. Tony smiled knowingly and gave his good friend a hug. Qin, by the way, where is Qin? Suddenly thinking of something, Tony's expression changed drastically. He pushed Rhodes away and asked. Looking around the room, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and even Ethan were all in this room. Only Qin Xiao was missing. Considering the situation before coma, Tony still didn't know what happened. Rhodes, go save him. Qin is left alone to cut off the queen. Go save him. Rhodes obviously knew what happened. He had also heard Tony talk about Qin Xiao. But for what Tony said about saving people. I'm sorry, Tony. The military can take risks for you if it's safe, but that friend of yours, I'm sorry, Tony. He was the one who rescued me. He saved me. I couldn't leave him alone in that place. Tony Stark stood up and said excitedly. Tony, listen to me, this is a border issue. We can't rush directly to the borders of non-allied countries for one person. I have submitted the application form, and I believe the superiors will communicate with them soon. Rhodes also stood up and held Tony's arm to comfort him. When you submit the application, the people above are communicating. The back and forth lasted for at least several days. I know the moral character of those people. After all, it is not the famous Tony Stark who is in danger now, but an unknown person, right? Rhodes' school. Hawkeye said angrily from the side, even though he knew that Rhodes was also very helpless. But no matter who it was for, Qin Xiao decided to leave alone and let everyone go first. Do you have any good ideas? If I remember correctly, you are agents, right? You should have some special means or something. Tony looked at Hawkeye. The military aircraft refused our transfer, but our own Quinjet is on its way, and it will probably arrive in 20 minutes. Black Widow said calmly from the side. The situation at that time was indeed that Qin Xiao had the best chance of survival for everyone who stayed. But that doesn't mean Black Widow isn't worried at all. However, after Black Widow and Hawkeye showed their IDs, the commander of the base refused the request to provide them with aircraft. There was no other way, so they immediately contacted the nearest intelligence office of S.H.I.E.L.D. and urgently dispatched a Quinjet fighter. Almost an hour has passed since they left Qin Xiao. Even if Qin Xiao is a super soldier, Black Widow is starting to get anxious. As for Qin Xiao, he didn't know anything about Tony's situation. Even if he knew it, he wouldn't care much about it now. Because the appearance of this person in front of him directly caused his brain to shut down. It's you. A cry of surprise. The traveler's face showed a bit of surprise, a bit of doubt, and more of a fear. You know me? Do you know it? Qin Xiao must know him, but he never expected to meet him in this place. When I was in college, there was a picture of you hanging on the wall in my lab, next to Marie Curie and Dr. Bruce Banner. It's an honor to meet you here. Qin Xiao directly opened the door and got out of the car, and handed Banner a bottle of water. Drink some water. From the looks of it, you must have run out of supplies. While talking to Dr. Banner, Qin Xiao looked behind to see if anyone was catching up. In my heart, I was desperately searching for the movie The Incredible Hulk that I had watched a long time ago. Marvel's movie timelines are only approximate. For example, for Iron Man and The Incredible Hulk, the final battle should take place in 2008. But I don't know the before and after. Qin Xiao remembered that Bruce Banner had just transformed into the Hulk and escaped the pursuit of General Ross. His first escape was to Brazil, where he met a teacher who taught him to control his heartbeat. Later, in order to meet the Mr. Lan who communicated online, I took the risk and returned to the United States. Finally disappeared after a battle with Abomination. According to the subsequent plot, he should have gone to the Arctic Circle and attempted suicide, and finally appeared in India during Avengers 1. It seemed like the battle with Abomination was over by now. This period should be the middle of Banner's journey to India after his suicide attempt. I just didn't expect that I would meet him here. After mentally reviewing the timeline, Qin Xiao then spoke. Do you want a ride, doctor? Don't worry, I'm not a bad person. My car broke down. This car was bought from a militant for $30,000. You know, this is the Middle East. Qin Xiao shrugged and said as calmly as possible. Not that he had to take Bruce Banner with him. As soon as the two met, the system issued a new task. Gain Bruce Banner's trust, become his friend, and help him escape the military's pursuit. System, am I too weak now that I am involved in the conflict between Banner and the military? Should I leave this task for later? Qin Xiao had a question in his mind. This system will only randomly release tasks based on the people and things the host currently meets, and does not force the host to complete them. However, the Marvel world is full of dangers. The more points you get, the host will be able to unlock them all earlier and gain more power. Although as the system said, his mission is very Buddhist and there is no punishment. But the points really helped him a lot, so Qin Xiao gritted his teeth and accepted the task. If it's the worst case scenario, just protect yourself first. There's no time limit anyway. So Qin Xiao got out of the car and casually explained why he was driving an armed vehicle. Because he knew that Banner was quite resistant to people in the US military. This is one of the reasons why he chose to come to Asia. Compared with the Americas and Europe, Asia is undoubtedly the place where the United States has the weakest influence. After listening to Qin Xiao's words, Bruce Banner looked embarrassed. The weapons on Qin Xiao's car did put pressure on him, not because he was afraid of what others would do to him, but because he was afraid that he would cause casualties to others after his transformation. But if he doesn't get in the car, he doesn't have much supplies in the desert right now. If he waits until his body can no longer bear it, he will still transform automatically. Chapter 20 The Aggrieved Drive Banner. After hesitating for a while, Dr. Banner finally chose to get in the car. He returned all the way from South America to the United States, and after fighting Abomination, he ran from the United States to the Middle East. Unexpectedly, in the chaotic Middle East, someone still followed me. In desperation, I had no choice but to go to Asia. He was at the end of his rope and had no choice. And after getting an injection from Mr. Lan, he added the breathing method he learned in Brazil. He can basically control his emotions and heartbeat perfectly. Will not transform easily. Besides, Qin Xiao didn't look like a member of the military. It is true that Qin Xiao is not from the military, but Dr. Banner never expected it. Qin Xiao, who looks like he is in his early 20s and is gentle, is in no less trouble than him now. At least in this desert. Dr. Banner, why are you alone in this desert, and it looks like... I mean, you know, it's very dangerous. The two unfamiliar people didn't speak, and the atmosphere was a bit awkward. Qin Xiao started chatting casually. I've encountered some not so good things. It's better that you don't know. I always bring misfortune to others. Banner said with memories in his eyes. I think you are too pessimistic. As the saying goes, when fate plays tricks on you, never think that it is your fault. Destiny. Banner murmured to himself a few times with dull eyes, lowered his head and stopped talking. The two of them drove in the desert in silence. More than 10 minutes later, rolling yellow sand rose up on Qin Xiao's left, right and rear. There were 4 or 5 fully armed off-road vehicles in each of the 3 directions quickly surrounding the center. At first glance, it seemed that he was here for his car. What happened? Who are these? Are they your companions? Dr. Banner almost turned around and looked around, and asked anxiously. No, I have no companions here. Sit tight. Qin Xiao stepped on the accelerator, and the off-road vehicle's engine roared and accelerated forward. Dr. Banner had never thought that these people were coming for him, but judging from the situation, it was obvious that these were not Americans. Moreover, Qin Xiao's performance looked like he was running away. Are you sure they're not your companions? Damn it, their cars are exactly the same as ours. Dr. Banner fastened his seat belt as he spoke. Doctor, you are a scientist. Do you know that there is a saying that you can see the essence through the surface? Qin Xiao turned the steering wheel fiercely, because several other cars appeared in front of him on the right. Then let's talk about the essence, why so many people suddenly appeared, as if they were here to catch us. This is the Middle East, doctor, don't ask why, and they are here to catch me. Congratulations, you can try the taste of others bringing you misfortune, oh. Fake. Qin Xiao turned the steering wheel again, because many enemies also appeared on the other side. Moreover, there were a large number of convoys in front, and several vehicles blocked the only open space. At this time, English with a strong accent came from the intercom in the car. Stop the car immediately, otherwise we will concentrate our firepower and blast you to pieces. As if to verify his words, he finished speaking. He saw the surrounding vehicles setting up their heavy machine guns and aiming at Qin Xiao's car. The surrounding vehicles were getting closer and closer, and at least 20 off-road vehicles were surrounding Qin Xiao. Qin Xiao sighed and stepped on the brakes resignedly. Remember to cooperate with me, doctor. After stopping the car, Qin Xiao said lightly. Cooperate? How can I? Dr. Banner hasn't finished speaking yet. He saw Qin Xiao raising his hands high and shouting loudly to the terrorists around him. It's none of my business. I don't know anything. I'm just a student traveling in the desert. It's this guy who forced me to drive for him. I don't know him at all, and I don't know what happened. Dr. Banner, WTF? What happened? Dr. Banner was a little confused. All the other party's vehicles also stopped. At least dozens of soldiers with live ammunition surrounded the two of them, and Qin Xiao said something else. I'm not who he said, I don't know him, I'm the traveler, I'm just taking a ride. Dr. Banner looked a little angry and looked at Qin Xiao. He is lying. Who would choose a car with a heavy machine gun for a ride in the desert? Look at me. I am just a college student who has just graduated. Look at this person. A group of terrorists around the vehicle looked at Qin Xiao, who was still clean and tidy. Look at Dr. Banner, who is obviously in tatters and looks like he has been through a big battle. Most of the guns that were fired were turned towards Dr. Banner. Just as Banner was about to say something, a soldier hit him on the head with a rifle butt. Stop talking nonsense, get out of the car and put your hands up. Banner, who was dizzy after being hit, took a deep breath as hard as he could, and looked up to see Qin Xiao winking at him naughtily. Are you even more angry? But the terrorists outside didn't care about this and roughly pulled the two people out of the car. Dozens of rifles surrounded the two men. The crowd parted, and a bearded man walked out. You two killed so many of me and let Tony Stark escape from my hands. Tony Stark? That billionaire who was supposedly kidnapped? Dr. Banner feels like his head is buzzing. Can anyone tell me what's going on? But Qin Xiao immediately shouted first. Don't kill me, don't kill me. I don't know anything. I don't know Tony Stark at all. I'm just a recent graduate. I'm Chinese. I was forced by this man to drive for him. Dr. Banner's opening was interrupted again, and the bearded man directly pulled out a large caliber pistol and put it against his head. Shut up, I haven't let you speak yet. Ugh. Dr. Banner sighed in frustration. Are you Chinese? The bearded man turned to Qin Xiao and asked. Yeah. Qin Xiao nodded desperately, looking innocent and innocent. You said he hijacked you and threatened you to help him drive. The bearded man then asked. Yes, that's it. He said that I am Chinese and he will be safer in Pakistan if he takes me with him. You're lying, I'm the one. Banner spoke for the third time, and he was still greeted by a gun butt. Shut up. I didn't ask you. You are not allowed to speak. I will not repeat it again. Do you understand? The bearded man lowered his body and said roughly to Dr. Banner. Banner was still taking deep breaths desperately. For the first time in his life, he had the urge to release the Hulk and beat the boy in front of him to death. Here comes the second chapter. It's my birthday today. I have to go out for a walk during the day, and I will continue when I come back in the evening. There is another chapter, which may be a little later. Readers who saw this, is it my birthday? Don't you want to give me a good review and then click to remind me to update, watch a small advertisement or something? End of the chapter. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.